Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Twisted Tragedies, where we follow all the twists and turns wherever they lead. I am your host, Elise, and I've missed you guys, right? I've missed you guys. Do me a big favor, just like Donna said, make sure you hit that like button on your way in or way out, one of the other. And if you'd like to donate to the channel, we have a couple different ways of doing so. We're a teeny tiny channel, so we rely on all of you guys' kindness to make sure that we still keep it moving and surviving over here. And the ways you can do so are Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Revolut. There's a link in the chat that you can use as well, pinned to the top, that anybody can use for credit or debit. It works in multiple countries. Everything is also in the description of the video, and there's a ticker at the bottom of the screen that will just keep ticking by throughout the entire show, so that if you miss the big one here, folks, the bottom one will always be there. I know people tend to miss it and ask me if I can make it bigger. I cannot make it bigger. So today, hey Lisa, Halloween's my favorite holiday. Today we have the good old McDonough here, right? And Sean is a friend of mine. Most of you know this. And me and Sean are going to show you guys what it's like to have a normal human conversation with a friend that doesn't revolve around hating one another and vitriol and anger, because you can do that, right? You can be friends with someone, not agree with them on a case or on politics or religion or any of the above, and still love them and be friends with them and respect them. So without further ado, the McDonough. Here he is, folks. Welcome, Shoni.
Hey, good morning, Elise.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good morning.
I have a little disclaimer. As you know, I was up in Boston over the week, right? And I don't know, I'm hearing people got sick that were up there. It got me, so pardon my voice.
Yeah.
And I come back and everything's in disarray because I can't get my video working. But listen, as long as you can hear me, I think that's the best thing.
I think your audio sounds crisp. It's pretty crisp, Sean.
Thank you for having me on.
Of course. You know, it's funny because I haven't had Sean on the show. We tried way back in the day. We couldn't make it work. And Shawnee was still, as he just told you, was still traveling as of Monday. So it actually worked out that we could have him on today. But most of you know, I've been friends with Sean for a couple of years now. And there was at one point I told Sean, like, don't tell anybody publicly you're friends with me. You're just gonna, you know, all the turtle writers are just gonna bash you into oblivion and be like, oh, you know, you're friends with Twisted Tragedies. And I'll never forget Sean's text message back to me, and he said, Elise, I don't give a fuck.
That's true.
Don't give a fuck.
That is true, my friend. And I don't. You know, and it's so nice that the fact that, you know, you were on the other side, right? You know,
I was, yeah.
And the biggest thing, and we talked about this in the green room, that I had respect for is that, you know, you took hell because of your goodness and kindness. You were the first one to be at Stoughton when Aiden came out of that courtroom.
Yeah.
You got a lot of people, you had coverage, and the whole thing is that you defended Lauren Murray.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And you caught. Anyways, it's so happy. I'm so happy.
I wouldn't lie. It's that simple. I wouldn't lie. Therefore, I couldn't, you know, I had to be public enemy number one if I wasn't willing to lie for him.
Right. So I think it's so great that we can still have this friendship, that we don't have to talk about Karen Reed anymore. No
amazing, right?
Side. Isn't it amazing? It is amazing.
I think people think that it has to be the topic of conversation. It doesn't, folks. It doesn't. There are so many other things, and people, I say this, underutilize Sean for. Right? Like, Sean has vast knowledge. He was a DEA agent, right? And instead of using Sean for, you know, what he did when he was a DEA agent and the experience he had there, they want to use the whole, like, listen, if bullying is your thing, this isn't the channel for you. Bottom line. If you're easily led, this is not the channel for you. If you have a problem with two people that don't agree on a case, can actually have a friendship and show people that this vitriol, this hate, and this discord doesn't have to continue, then this is not the channel for you, folks, because me and Sean have been friends since the beginning of this. We may not agree on the Karen Reed case, but that's okay. We agree on 100 other things as friends, right? And I think it just goes to show that if Aiden wasn't the one to cover the Karen Reed case, I don't think that the anger, the hate, and the vitriol would have rose to the level it has, where you need to destroy every single person that doesn't agree with you on the case. I mean, that's just absurd. It's not normal behavior. It's just not.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is the way the world works.
I don't know if your followers are on the cesspool of X, but another
Some of
content creator was going to have me on last night, and he succumbed to the pressure that got to him. And like I said, I mean, it is what it is. And, you know,
I mean, that's sad though, right? So Sean had been booked on a different show. I think it was tomorrow night, right? And,
right.
you know, the turtle people decided they were going to attack, you know, that guy and his content because Sean was going on, and then the guy was like backed out and canceled. Listen, I'm not one of those people that's going to back out and cancel because somebody might not like it. Oh, well, too bad. You don't like it. You don't have to watch. There's a button, right? You can go. That's fine. But that's called pressure, right? And you don't have to put pressure on people like that if you're innocent. There's just no reason.
Yeah, and,
you know what I mean?
And it goes to your character. The bottom line is, I mean, I had this guy when no one else would have him. He actually said that on his feed in X. He said, when anyone else, Sean answered my call. And like I said, it goes to his character now because he succumbed. And like I said, I don't have time for people like that. I really don't. You know,
nobody should.
I have time for you, at least, because you're right. We've been trying to get this for so long. I mean, I'm talking about even last year, and for whatever reason, you know, but listen, the bottom line is I'm glad we're doing this. And you can ask me anything you want. At least I'm going to be an open book.
You know me, Shawnee. I'm not going to put you in a shitty, you know, situation because it's just shitty. You know, the whole Karen Reed case is shitty. Bottom line, the whole thing is shitty. Everyone, the way they were treated is shitty, and it continues and it keeps going and on and on. And you know, we know that I think she's guilty. We know you think she's innocent. What we can't agree on is she's not a good person. She's a shitty person. She doesn't treat people very nicely. But also Aiden's a shitty person. Now, I do have to mention to all of you who don't have Twitter, because there are quite a few of my viewers that don't have Twitter, that Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports, called Aiden an idiot yesterday publicly on Twitter. Yeah, that happened. It was funny. I don't know the guy's name. I mean, it was already booked. Sean was already booked, Karen, on the show. And then the guy got pressure from the turtle people.
Yeah, the content creators, his show is called Calling All Beings.
Calling All Beings. Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's water under the bridge. I don't really have to deal with it, but it's good to see Karen. It's good to see Joey Rogue. I can see you out there, Rogie.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. A lot of people never understood. I got a lot of flack as well for being friends with Sean. I don't understand why you're friends with him, blah, 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 blah. He thinks Karen's innocent. I don't give a shit whether he thinks Karen's innocent or not. Here's the one thing about Sean that I can tell you is Sean has always had my back. Always. He was one of the very first people to reach out to me and say, what the fuck just happened to you is not okay. And I have your back. And I appreciated that because there were so many people who were afraid and literally came to me and was like, I wish I could say something, Elise, because obviously I know the truth and I know that that's not right and Aiden's lying. But if I say something, I'm going to get attacked and my family's going to get attacked, Elise. So I can't. I'm sorry. I can't. Do you know how many people were so afraid to have my back? So afraid they wouldn't.
I can imagine.
And so I can respect the fuck out of people who weren't afraid to do the right thing when they saw something happen that shouldn't have been happening. They weren't afraid. They didn't follow along with the mob. They weren't afraid to be like, whoa, that's not okay. That's not okay. Right. You know?
So the two things, just real quick, I'll put this to bed. The two things that this content creator pressed me on was, I see Donna, Donna's in the chat here, that I conspired with Donna, right, to charge or get charges against Aiden. And I think Donna has put this to bed. I actually told Donna
not to.
It's not worth your effort, your money to get an attorney. It will be huff puff, blow away in a day. That's it.
Yep.
Let it go. She didn't listen to me, and that's good. And the other thing was, now the big thing is, you know, there was an incident that happened last year or maybe a year and a half ago where one of my mods was implicated in a report I've held in Mass. Okay.
Remember that. Yep.
Now listen, here's the bottom line. I was brought into this, right? And I asked that mod, did you know that you're on a police report in Holden, Mass as a witness for Aiden Carney? She goes, no, I did not. I said, okay, here's the bottom line. Did you supply Aiden something to bolster a charge against Kate Peter? She goes, no, I did not. I said, who did? I don't know. I said, okay, fine. So I did me. I went to
Yep.
all my mods and I figured out who did it. So I contacted the Colden Police Department.
When you add something in there that is not true, that is filing a false report to try to have someone arrested. And let me just be clear here. Aiden has done that a multitude of times where he has used turtle riders who are willing to lie for him or just used other people's names and thrown them in there to sort of bolster his fake, I'm going to get this person revenge case.
So what happened was this, is that the mod, all right, basically said, hey, wait a minute. I can't go up there if I can't because I did not do it and I don't want to be on that report. Fine. Yeah. So that turned into me conspiring with Kate Peter. Kate Peter was the and I said, if the real person in the mod, I know who the person is, okay? If the real person comes forward, then let's have the Holden Police Department do what they did. The real person did not come forward. And
Shocker.
That became that I helped Kate Peter. And I told Kate,
said,
Kate, listen, the bottom
what's
line
right is right, though, and what's wrong is wrong. So here's the thing. If somebody tried to manufacture something and add someone in that was not true about anyone, and I don't even have to like you, okay? Here's the kicker. I don't have to like you. I've stuck up for people on the other side a multitude of times, including SD, Jen O'Donnell, and there's the way they were treated is not okay. The things that were done to them is not okay. And I would do it again because right is right and wrong is wrong. I don't have to like someone to know that something is wrong. Therefore, I need to say something.
Right. So basically, the bottom line was that turned into me conspiring with Kate to put Aiden in jail. Now, listen, I have my own microphone, right?
That's right.
I've been very vocal. Matter of fact, I was very complimentary of Aiden the day of the verdict. And I basically said that sea of pink is all because of Aiden Carney. Now, listen, if I was trying to get him in jail, right, I'd be on this microphone on my own show doing everything in my power to bash him. I didn't. All these texts, I got them all. I don't really care anymore. It all revolved around the pressure this mod was getting to stay forward. And she said, I can't because I'm not a part of this.
It's not the truth.
So, the bottom line is, it is what it is. I don't care. I know my truth, right? And like I said, that's it. So, with that said, the kid calling all beans succumbed. He wanted to do his own investigation. I shut it down. I said, guess what, pal? If you don't believe me, I'm done. See you later.
Right. There's no point. What investigation are you going to do? Donna came on my show already and already put to bed that ridiculous argument of Sean. First of all, let me make something clear. Sean can't make anybody do anything, number one. Number two, like I said, I've known Sean all these years. Never once has Sean ever said to me, Elise, you should do this or you need to do this. Sean has always just been an ear if I need to vent or a friend. He has never been like, you need to do this, Elise. You should probably do this, Elise. That's not who Sean is. If you know him as a person.
Sign is, when you do something that goes against the popular, right? You have to have conviction. You have to have character. And basically, most of my time since 2023, early on, was calling balls and strikes. And I found a lot of strikes against you, and I did not agree with them. And I was not going to stay back in the backfield and, succumb
and just be like, cool, this is great,
Come to bullshit for no reason. And that's it,
I mean, I think the after, and this is a good, message here, but the aftermath of the Karen Read trial is, and I said this, I would never write a book about the Karen Read trial itself. If I wrote a book, it would be about the human toll that case took on so many people, just endless amounts of people who were harmed by that case in and itself. And Aiden Kearney. It's that simple. So many innocent people's lives have been altered or changed or destroyed for no real reason. Usually it's some petty, issue he has, an ego issue, you won't lie for him issue, where he's trying to hide things that he did and so he's got to bash you first so that nobody believes you. And it's unfortunate because eventually all that stuff is going to become public because of his trial, and there's no more hiding from it. There's no more bashing people and hiding behind that. And there's no more telling people are bad. All of it is going to come out to the public, and it's just going to be there for everyone to see. And at that point, I really hope that people take a step back and do what I've been seeing in the last 3 months, which is I have had many people come to me and say, you know what, Elise, I'm really sorry. I feel horrible. I did not know X, Y, and Z. And I blamed you. People pushed me in the way of attacking you. And then I found out that it wasn't true. And now I feel terrible that I talked to you that way, that I treated you that way, that was a part of that. And I've gotten a multitude of apologies, but I'm hoping that people start waking up before all of that. It shouldn't have to have all that stuff from the trial to be public for people to start waking up and being like, wait a second, 1 + 1 = 2. And I'm being told 1 + 3 = 2, you know?
Well, the jury spoke. Everyone can move on. Unfortunately, some people feel that they have to squeeze every little penny out of the Karen Read thing. It's over with.
It's done.
It's over. So
it's done. It's over. It's time to like move on from it and try to, you know, help someone else. I mean, let me get your thoughts on this, because I have my own thoughts on the officer, you know, the officer that was shot in Lynn, the off-duty one that, you know, the officers came to serve her the Kelsey, they served her the warrant. The restraining order.
The North Andover Kelsey.
Maybe that's what it was, North Andover. Yeah. And she pulled her weapon and they shot her in the chest. Yep. I see a lot of the, you know, free Karen Read people and turtle riders trying to push this whole, we need to help her Kelsey theory thing here. And I'm like, this is pretty much a very clear-cut case of she was shot because she put a weapon in her hand.
Right. Here's my thing. All right. It's a tragedy. I've dealt with people with had postpartum depression. It's a real thing. Okay.
It is. Now, I had postpartum with my oldest. It's a real thing.
Yeah. So, you know, like I said, I don't know. I have no idea why they're pushing so hard in this.
Because they need this to be the new Karen Read case. That's why.
I mean, I'm talking about the prosecution. I mean, that officer is one of their own. Okay. Now, I don't think they're giving up all the details, because let's face it, that officer who fired his weapon or her weapon, what I don't even know, had to have seen something, right? That threatened. I mean, that's the only reason you could take.
Well, she had admitted to picking up the weapon. She just said she was going to harm herself and nobody else.
Okay. So
you picked up a weapon in front of office, a gun in front of office. What did you think was you're an officer? What do you think is going to happen?
That's, like I said, I don't know enough about the details. I do know it's a tragedy. I don't know why they're so hell-bent on keeping her in jail if she has these issues. I mean, she's a young mother. It stinks on both sides. That's all I can say. And I don't believe we know all the information completely. Let's face it. They don't give, the prosecution doesn't give up their whole deck of cards.
Well, no, of course not. They're not going to.
As we know.
I think it was very clear, though, that the judge was not having the whole Bradel grandstanding narrative thing. The judge was like, no, we're not doing that, sir. You can, nope, no. And I think, like, don't make a deal with the Commonwealth saying she can do these tests. Let her do the test for months and then be like, well, sorry, she can't do it. She's in pain. Okay, well, she has to have, and the problem is you can't do alcohol testing through urine. It's out in like 3 hours. So that's not you know what I mean? A feasible, like after a couple days like that, you got to do the breathalyzer. That it's not, that's why they're saying like that it's that, or you sit in jail until you can do that.
Well, like I said, I don't know enough. I really don't know much of it at all to comment, other than the fact I feel horrible on both sides. It is a tragedy. I mean, anytime an officer's tasked to shoot another officer, that's huge.
It sucks.
Let's face it. I mean, that's someone that person worked with.
Oh, that's the other thing, is that it wasn't just like, you know, an officer who had to shoot at an officer. These were people who worked together. They were co-workers, right? So you have to shoot a co-worker.
I can't imagine if I had to be that officer that took the shot against that woman. So, you know, it goes back to training. What did that officer who fired that round feel his life or someone else's life was in jeopardy? And guess who was in danger? If they felt she was going to commit suicide, right? She was in danger, and that officer took action to prevent it. Now, I mean, do I want to believe that they shot to kill the person? Well, that's generally what you do. You shoot.
Well, you shoot to kill, mass, right? That's what they're trained to do, is shoot center mass.
Yeah, you don't shoot to wound. I can tell you this. All right.
Right.
And it's funny, this whole story about my jungle. I was the primary firearms and tactical instructor for the whole Houston Field Division. I trained hundreds of agents in the Houston Field Division, from San Antonio to Laredo to McAllen to Galveston, Houston. And I can tell you right now, you don't take that firearm out and shoot unless your life or someone else's life is in danger. You don't shoot to wound. You shoot for center of mass.
That's right. Center mass.
Yep. You know that. Right.
Biggest so, part, usually the chest.
Right.
You know, you shoot to kill. You're not shooting to disarm, because if you miss, it's your life.
Exactly.
So you shoot center mass, usually the chest.
It will all come down to that officer's rationale as to why that officer used deadly force that evening or that day, whenever it was.
Yeah. That's her last name, Fitzsimmons. So for me, there's two separate issues here. The issue of taking her child versus the issue of the restraining order. Those are two separate issues for me, because I think there's too much that the government does to go in and take children from their parents to begin with, right? That whole racket is Title V funding. It's literally, they have an incentive to take these children for no reason. It's the Title V funding. That's their incentive. Follow the money everywhere and everything. Follow the fucking money. Bottom line. And so I think that's a separate issue.
Evil. We know this.
Exactly. The root of all evil. It's sort of like, you know, it's a separate issue for me, because I don't think any mother should be pulled away from their child. I had postpartum. I didn't have with my oldest, who's now almost 21, but I didn't have it to like the length some people get it, which is like wanting to harm yourself or wanting to harm your child. I had more of what they call the baby blues postpartum, just really stressy and depressy, you know.
Sure.
But it can get, you know, way worse. It can get to Lindsay Clancy levels, right?
Yeah.
And I don't ever think removing someone's children right away is the best option. I think support for that person, the best support that they can get, even if it's inpatient at a place like Pembroke Hospital, which has done wonders for people over at Pembroke. Again, I worked in mental health for a long time in a prison for the criminally insane and for full-grown men. And I've seen what can happen when they get the correct support, right? And the correct medications. And that can happen outside of a jail setting too, at home. You know, they have in-home therapy now, they have virtual therapy, they have all these different options to help someone. I think the problem lies where medications don't work right away if you need medications. And even then, it takes weeks for them to start working. And sometimes people need to be in an inpatient setting until those meds start working.
Exactly.
They need that kind of support. And our systems aren't set up to give long-term support. It's get them stable and get them out. And it's not stable as in like what me or you would think it's stable. It's what they deem stable. Are you functioning? Are you not saying you want to kill yourself? Cool, get out now.
Right.
You know, the insurance doesn't want to pay for it unless you're paying out of pocket. You know, again, money. Everything is about money. The insurance doesn't want to pay for a never-ending stay for your mental health. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality. So, Sean, let me ask you this.
Sure.
Why did you want to join the DEA? Was that something you ever thought about? Did they recruit you? Like, why?
You know, it's funny. Why? That's a great question. So, you know, I chose law enforcement, obviously, not to get rich.
Right.
And I was down
obviously.
I was down in DC, and that's where all the federal agencies are there, right? So a very good friend of mine that was in college with me was with me. I got him onto the Capitol Police when I first went down there. He was a very good friend of mine. So when I left the Capitol Police to go to Arlington County, right, I loved it. It was a great job. I mean, to do police work anywhere in that area was
right.
Awesome. I was really into it, and you know, for whatever reason, the bills were being paid, and that's about it.
Right.
So that friend of mine leaves the Capitol Police, and he is hired by DEA. Okay, I didn't know much about DEA at the time. All right. This is we're talking about the early 80s. Miami Vice was big back then, but Miami Vice was just, the detectives. There wasn't a lot about DEA. All right. So he calls me up. He said, dude, this is for us. He says, you got to come on. All right. Well, I said, we'll see. Anyways,
I'll think about it.
I put my application in. Denied. I put my application in a second time. Denied. I said, dude, I mean, what are they looking for? I said, you and I are basically cut from the same cloth. Oh, he said, Sean, I can fix that. And so he brings me to the recruiter at DEA headquarters. And he says, Charlie, this is Charlie, the recruiter. He says, This is my dog. Elise, I want to apologize publicly. I know I said this to you. When I
oh my God, stop it.
All right, so he says, this is my dog. We need him. That was it.
That means friend. It's a term of endearment.
Right. But anyways, the recruiter said, all right, that's it. Give me another application. And that was it. And that's when the journey started. Yeah. And the thing was, when I did finally know about DEA and everything, it was perfect for me. I was buying PCP up in Southeast.
So
DC.
funny.
Oh my God. And yeah, it was, listen, it was a great start to a great part of my career. But I'll tell you, I'll never discount the 7 years I had as a police officer. So
of course not. Because that's where it all begins, right? Like that's where it all begins. But it's interesting to know, like, how did Sean get into said DEA?
And that's how it happened. Are we frozen? Elise? Hello. There you go.
I was buffering. Right, sorry, I had to fix it.
Cool.
It's interesting to know, like, how did Sean get into the DEA? Like, so what I want to, I always wondered, right? Once you're in the DEA, I always wondered, like, why do they not put people back into sort of the neighborhoods that they grew up in, where they would know where the drugs are hidden, right? Like, you're from Boston. Why not put you at least close nearby into the places where you can make a difference, where you know where the stuff's coming from?
That's a great question. And the thing, see, in my case, which was crazy, my first post of duty, I went from DC to Springfield, Massachusetts. Now, even though I was a Boston guy, right, I went to Westfield State University. And trust me, the first day, this is amazing. The first day I showed up as a brand new agent in that office, I'm knocking on the door, no one's there. 2 marshals are coming out with a guy shackled. Comes by me. He looks at me. I look at the guy. It was one of my buddies in college, going away 20 years for drug conspiracy. That was my my wake up into Springfield. And so why they don't bring agents back to their hometown? For the obvious, because let's face it, you're known.
Well, yeah.
You go,
but you could still help someone else who's like undercover or something, right? Like,
well, the thing is, when you are, say they sent me to the Boston office, right? Now, I did do work in the Boston office, but from different things. But yes, it was great, because when I would go down to Boston and pick up an informant to go to Jamaica Plain, I would take all these little shortcuts. And the guy goes, "How do you know this?" I said, "Because it's my city. I know all the I can't tell you what street I'm on, but I know the landmarks.
But I know how to get there, right?
I can get you there, right?" And I would beat everyone there because, let's face it, I had, knowledge of the city.
Right.
And, but the thing is, when you go into a place, you're never going to know who's going to know you, right?
Yeah,
and
no.
Yeah. Oh, say you're going in as Joe Fulano, and the guy goes, "Hey, Sean, how you been? We haven't seen you." Now you're ruined. You're screwed.
You're screwed. Yeah.
So in that way, that's the security part of it. That you have to have operational security. Yeah. So, but I got to tell you, it was hard up in Springfield. I danced around many things up in Springfield. So.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite place that you ever worked out of as a DEA agent? What was your favorite?
I'll have to say Peru was absolutely the best. I had 7.5 years. You were going to say that.
Why?
I'll tell you why. Okay. The Peruvian culture is amazing. And I have to say, as an Irish citizen, all right, my both parents from Ireland, the Latin way of life was just like how I grew up, family orientated, just good natured people. Right. And the culture, the cuisine, the places, like I could go to the jungle one day, I could go to the mountains, I could go to the beach. It had everything at your fingertips, and it was all reachable. You go to Machu Picchu, you could everything. It was just great,
beautiful,
it was awesome. And so when I got there, I'll tell you a quick story. At the time, I was in Houston. I left Springfield, went to Houston, which was great, and I was assigned to, my first assignment was in the HIDTA group, which is high intensity drug trafficking area. It's congressionally mandated. And I was the backup supervisor for a U.S. Customs group, right? So I was a DEA liaison to a customs group out of the Houston Field Division, right? And that was beautiful. So how I got the bug, I was sent to McAllen, Texas, which is down on the border of Texas and Mexico.
Yep.
Now, back in those days, this is like early 90s, I knew 4 words: "Sí, no, cerveza, and gracias." That's all I knew in Spanish.
That's it. That's it.
When I went to McAllen, Texas, I got off the plane, and McAllen's nice, but we had an assignment in a town just, I guess it was west of McAllen, called Roma, Texas, Roma, Roma, Texas. And we were investigating the sheriff of that particular county.
Ooh, corruption, eh?
Right out of the bat. So we set up certain places, and I went into this bodega, right, this store. And when I got out, I looked at these people. They looked at me like I was a Martian. Figure I was 6'2", 220 pounds, this Irish mug. And I go in, and they look at me. I said, "Where the Christ am I?" I didn't know where the hell. I said, I know I'm in the United States. This is right on the Rio Grande River. And this was before all the border crossings and everything. It was just,
yeah.
So we went up in the plane. I was a spotter of this plane, and it was a beautiful plane. And we're doing overflies. And the pilot goes, "Sean," we had the headset on. He said, "Look down." I said, "Yeah." He said, "That's the high school." At least it was in the shape of a marijuana leaf. The whole school.
Shut the fuck up.
No, it was amazing. Amazing. And
I love that.
You got to be kidding me. He says, "Yeah, this whole town was built on the funding of marijuana distribution."
I see.
Yeah. So that's how I got the bug. And I left that group, and I took over the firearms division. I was the primary firearms. So that was great. Tactical training, shooting all shoot, don't shoot scenarios. And there come a time where I was put in for the mobile enforcement team. It was called a MET. So I put in for that job as a 14. I was only 10 years on the job at the time. But I also put in to be transferred to Peru. I said, "Okay, I'm going to cover my end on both sides." I had a good score for promotion. I was competitive. And my boss, the agent in charge of the office, was pulling for me, right? But I also put in for Peru because I knew there was a lot of openings in Peru. And I said, "This is my time." Well, the career board up in DC, they make all the decisions. Call the career board, and they promote and they do transfers in a meeting. They have these meetings up in DC. Elise, it only can happen to me. I get promoted and transferred at the same time.
At the same time, yeah. Yep.
So I'm getting calls saying, "Oh, Sean, congratulations. You're going to be the next supervisor at the mobile enforcement team." And then I get another call. "Hey, Sean, we heard you got selected for Peru. You're going to be a great asset for us." I go, "Wait a minute.
Wait, hold on.
How the Christ is that even possible?" So now I had my first dilemma. Do I disappoint my boss?
What do you choose? Yeah.
He was a great guy. Or do I go with my heart? Now let's face it, getting a 14 at the age I was, that was big.
Oh yeah. That's good
not,
level clearance up there.
Yeah. And so, and I didn't have to move like most people do. I was right there. It was a high speed, the mobile enforcement team, they would pick areas. Maybe it would be Galveston, maybe other areas. And we'd go in like a mini task force. And we go under the cover of, just regular guys, right? And it was beautiful. We would do setup operations, and we would help the local environment, the local areas that had drug-ridden problems, right? That was up my alley. I mean, it was all high speed, low drag, tactical stuff,
You ever have to do like any work near like reservations, Indian reservations? Because there's a lot of
well, when I got promoted to Naples, I got a second promotion. Yeah, we have reservations here in Naples, So
yeah.
But anyways, so getting back real quick, and so I had friends in Peru. One of the supervisors called me out. He was a Springfield guy, man, John Fernandez. He says, "Hey, Sean, I can't wait to have you come down here. It's gonna be great." Blah blah blah. So I had to go to my boss in Houston. I said, "Mr. Howard, I feel horrible." And I said, "Listen, I know you listen, let's face it, it's not easy to get promoted.
Put your butt on the line. You got to play politics too in these government agencies.
It's unheard of.
Yeah.
That a knucklehead would actually turn down a promotion, right?
Well, duh.
And I said to him, you know, I have this thing. I really want to learn a language. I want to go over it and see what it's like on the other side. He said, Sean, you know, you can take this promotion and go over as a 14. I said, but I want to be in the field.
I want to learn. I don't want to be the person like telling people what to do. I want to do it myself.
So at the end of the day, he said, Sean, I support you. You're going to be a great guy over there in Lima. I think you should have your head examined because you can always go back. You could always get promoted. And guess what? He was right. I got promoted out of Lima to Naples, and I got reassigned overseas to Caracas, Venezuela, and then ultimately Bogota, Colombia. So it did come full circle, and I'm so happy I took the decision to go to Peru versus taking the 14 and maybe not go back over. So
because you wouldn't have all that, right?
So Peru, my 7.5 years there, and hey, I'll give you every year they give you rest and recuperation leave, right? Yeah. 6 months in country. Well, they give you a ticket to go anywhere you want, right? I stayed.
You didn't leave, did you?
I stayed in country.
I knew it. I knew it.
You know, I saved the government money. I did go home to see my parents a couple of times during those 7 years, but my first time I said, no, I'm not leaving this.
I'm just going to stay here. I'm good. Like, how many total years? Jesse wants to know how many years you served in law enforcement.
35 total years. 35
That's
years.
It's your answer, Jess. 35. That's a long career. I mean, you can retire law enforcement. I think it's in your 40s if you do.
Yeah, if you have the time, like even with DEA, if you have 25 years on, you can leave and get full. You know, at any age, you can retire at 57 with 20 years on. So
see,
so my first assignment was the intel group. And I said, oh God, what do I know about intelligence? I'm a field guy. I mean, give me my rifle. Get me
out there. I want to see the action.
But as it turns out, that was in itself a great job. So I was the backup supervisor, but my supervisor was gone the whole time. So I was actually the supervisor. And what we did is that group, we had the nerve, the heartbeat of Peru. We had all the intel. We had everything coming into us. And our whole assignment overseas is basically to be advisors to the host country. But let's face it, you can advise, but your nature is to act, you know, and you're supposed to do
something, right?
The second wave in, but like everything else, so you're type A personality, you're going to be on the first flight going in. So,
absolutely.
So with that, I was given the responsibility to take over this one program, right? It was very sensitive. And because of that, they sent me to the CIA training, right? To handle what it was. We had a bunch of high valued informants. Now, my guy, his job was to give us so much information, right? That people, the data he gave us exposed so many people in Peru, normal people, government people.
I was about to say high target.
Right. Yeah. And so I would have to meet this guy. So in order to treat this guy, you know, and make sure he doesn't get caught for treason, because he was committing treason against his own government. So they sent us to the CIA training, which was great.
I was going to say, you ever think of moving from the DEA into the CIA?
Well, I did. When I retired, I was an instructor for the CIA up in offsite in Pennsylvania. That's a whole other story. But anyways, so here's the thing. How do you meet a person, right, knowing that you're going to be followed? Now, the thing is, every nation has their intel and their secret service type stuff.
Yeah.
And so they watch your comings and goings out of that embassy because they want to know who the fuck are these gringos meeting, right? Let's face it, there's corruption.
You ever heard of, I bungle his last name every time, but John Carricow? He's the guy who blew the whistle on the torture program.
Yes.
CIA guy. Yeah.
Right. So Anyways, it was great. So
he was talking about that though, them watching them leave the embassy, and they would have to deal with like making sure that they don't get bombed when they're driving home from said embassies. You change cars and like stop different places, not take the same route.
Yeah. So the best intel people in the world are the Cubans. And when I was in Venezuela, they trained all the Venezuelan counter intelligence people the best. Anyway, so my job to meet this guy safer, I would have to do a 3-hour surveillance detection route before I ever met this guy. So I'll give you an example. Say I would tell the guy, okay, we're going to meet at 3:30 at such or such location. I'd have to leave the embassy at 12 o'clock noon.
Yep.
And convince myself I was being followed. And how do I do that? Well, you want to put the host nation to sleep. So what I would do, I go get a haircut. I get a manicure because that was big down there. Let me tell you, the Latin culture, they do manicures, pedicures, and I was like,
oh yeah, they take good care of themselves.
Yeah,
skin,
so I go
of
to
it.
the local mall, and I gotta tell you, it's a third world country, but it was beautiful down there. It really was. So and then I would leave. I'd go to another place. Now I'm looking the whole time. I'm looking without looking. I'm saying, okay, do you see anyone that you saw before? No. All right, that's a checklist. So the little caveat was this. Over time, distance, and change of direction, if you happen to see a person twice, you're being followed. So the thing is time, change of direction, right? And whatever I just said, right? If you spot someone, you're definitely being followed. And if
you're followed, the coincidence isn't it?
So you're being followed. You know you're being followed. You have to go to that premise. So I go into like a clothing store. I go in, I go all the way in the back, right? To flush these people out, see if they're coming in. All right.
Yeah.
And I didn't see anyone then. Okay, fine. Now I go to when I buy greeting cards, right? So I go down to the greeting. I have to do this for 3 hours. The whole idea, Elise, is to put these people to sleep.
Right.
To say, this fucking gringo's not doing shit today.
Right.
So you hope for the best.
Boring.
So the last half hour, so I got to meet the guy at 3:30. The last half hour is called the crazy minute, right? Where you go aggressive. And I go into a neighborhood, let's face it, it's crazy. I don't even know the country that well. And I go up and down streets like a madman, going into driveways, see if there's a tail. And if I'm clean, I can meet this guy. If I'm not, I have a fail-safe message I can send to the informant, the actual helper, and say, abort, whatever. Right.
Right. Do not go.
Yeah. So basically, I meet the guy, right? Pay him, get the disc, get whatever he's giving me, and leave. And we do this. We had things to set up that way. That was incredible. But my best tour at all was under the Riverine Interdiction Unit, which was based out of Iquitos, Peru, right on the Amazon River in the jungle. Ooh. That was my all-time favorite. All time.
You are so crazy. I know it is, but it is beautiful. It is beautiful.
Yeah.
I would not survive in the jungles of Peru.
Something? I never got a mosquito bite. Never. And I'm a city kid. I'm not listen, let me tell you something. I was never a camper. I love
camping.
But I'm going to tell you, think about it. So we would go out there for 2 weeks at a time, me and my partner. And we had 100 Peruvian cops and Coast Guard guys. We had a kind of, referee. Because like in the States, law enforcement and military do not get along. Right? It's just
yes, they want to big dick each other.
Well, and it's worse. Yeah. It's worse in the Latin culture. So the cops are saying, we have the law, and the Coast Guard saying, well, we have the waters. You're on our, oh God. So over
whose jurisdiction nights, and whose dick is bigger?
So over many nights, I'd take the commandantes of both units, go up to a beautiful setting along the Amazon River at night, and we're sweltering. I'm telling you, I carry gallons of water with me all the time. And we're sitting down and I say, guys, listen, we got to do this the right way. Can't have infighting. And with more beers, now they're starting saying, but this place was called the Malecon. It was the Boulevard. And you could literally see the Amazon River with the riverboats going by at night.
So beautiful.
The backdrop. And they paid us $39 a day to be there. You know how much $39? I couldn't spend $39 in a week being there. We got
down there, yeah.
Yep. Plus my salary. And you know, all that money that I made was basically to take the host nation guys out, show them a good time, buy them dinner. Let me tell you something. That goes a long way. It goes.
Oh, it does. Way. You have to build that trust, right? They need to know that you have their back and they have yours.
Yeah. So basically, our mission was to take intel that DEA would get, and we was provided to both the Coast Guard and the Peruvian police officers, and we outfitted these guys with these incredible prototype Boston whalers with these 4 250 Mercury engines. Let me tell you something. These were high speed. These were the best. And these guys that we had in the unit were specialized, trained. They were SIU, special investigation unit. We handpicked them, we polygraphed them, we urine tested, and sent them to Quantico to be trained. It was great. And these guys were trusted. However, their supervisors weren't a part of the program. And what I learned, sadly, one of my buddies, a Peruvian guy, said, Sean, you know, you gringos never get it right. I said, what do you mean, Miguel? He says, and the guy was great because he could speak English too.
Yeah.
He says, you know, Sean, you got this made. You got this. You got it down perfect. But you're going to fucking leave us. And some other idiot that we don't know, don't trust, and he doesn't know what you know, is going to come in behind you. And the whole thing has to start all so over. In that case, Elise, the bottom line with that is that's the part where maybe the government should have said, hey, you know, you have a guy who is institutionally involved with these guys. Why get him out of there after 7 years?
Right.
You know,
just keep him there.
And he made perfect sense. So yeah, so I got replaced by another guy that didn't know how to speak Spanish, and you know, so I was single.
Had a translator and all that.
I was single at the time, and so I did have a Peruvian girlfriend, and she spoke zero English. She spoke Italian, but that didn't help, and it forced me to have to really
learn
master the language. And thank God I did. But so the intel was this: you know, you had riverboats coming up from wherever in Peru and go up to the Colombian-Brazilian border. And that was what we did. We did boardings all the time. But one of the most famous things I got involved in, I was just talking to my partner, Kenny, about this April 20th, 2001. A Peruvian plane was shot down over the Amazon River. Now, the program that DEA ran for that program was called the Air Bridge Denial Program. It was a federally mandated program, all kinds of money put in. And the way it worked was this. DEA would get intel about flights leaving Peru, right? We'd get intel. And, you know, so how we did it was, you know, we had the cell towers already on our side, and we had the radio frequency, the HFBH radios, right?
Yeah.
So we would listen. We had our units listening, and they'd say, oh, this guy's coming in. They're going to fly into Ayacucho. They're going to fly into wherever, you know.
So you'd know, right?
Yes. Yeah. So anyways, and we'd get the info. So this day, now this is what happens when you're really known in the area. You get invited to all these things. So April 20th, 2001 was a beautiful Friday. I got up in the morning, and we didn't have any operations going on that day. So my partner was deathly sick. He got some kind of bug. And that happens in the jungle all the time. I mean, you get a bug like that. But the big thing is Friday was going to be carnival. And you know, carnival. So
it's a big ordeal.
Oh, and they'd throw balloons, but all kinds of stuff.
Masks, the whole shebang.
We'll get right. I get this call from Lima. Sean, we just got, the Air Bridge Denial people just shot a plane over the Amazon, and we have to get up there. I says, wait a minute. What do you mean they shot a plane? We didn't provide any intel. Why am I getting this? And the guy that called me was a Coast Guard guy, a U.S. Coast Guard guy. All right, make a long story short, I verified it. So I sent Riverine. I launched 5 boats to go up river, right? Actually, it's down river. So think about this. Everything south of the equator is reverse. You know how our toilets, the water goes down one way? Well, down there it goes the opposite way. So the rivers down there flow from south to north.
Right.
The United States goes north to south. So when I say we're going downriver. It was
I
actually
mean, up.
going from south.
Yeah.
Everything's reversed. So five boats lost. It took them 2 hours to get there, right? So we jumped the float plane by the Peruvian Air Force, and they got us up there. And just like they said, we came down, we saw the plane smoking, all kinds of smoke coming out. It's right in the, not too far from the banks of the Amazon, in a jungle town called Wata, right? So we land, we get out, and it's like Fantasy Island, all these little jungle kids. Hey, they're waving at us. So I go past the plane to a little schoolhouse. I walk in with my partner, and I see two bodies, a larger body and a small body, in blankets on two desk tables. And I have two Peruvian cops and a father and a son being interviewed. So I look at my partner, he looks at me, and I said, wow, this doesn't seem like this is a plane that should have been shot down. These guys don't look like traffickers, but then again, who knows? So
who knows, right?
Now, this guy could speak Spanish, he was American. He could speak Spanish like you wouldn't believe. I said, Tim, my partner, said, this guy's an American. And he heard me. And the guy looks at me, he says, you're damn right, an American. He said, you fuckers shot us out of the air. You shot us out of the air. I said, holy shit.
Said, you're damn right, I'm American.
That's how it started. And the problem was, he and I became very good friends. So here's the deal. They were leaving Benjamin Constance, which is a little border town in Brazil, because their little 6-month-old baby had to get a passport. So they went to the consulate. So here was the flight. You had a pilot, you had him, you had his wife, you had his 10-year-old son, and a little 6-month-old baby. All right. Aww. And his story is this: we go in, we get the documents signed for the passport. And so we're missionaries. So we contracted this guy to fly us up and fly us back. He says, it was a beautiful day. We banked out north, and we came around south, and we started down the Amazon River. It was beautiful. We were about 4,000 feet above the Amazon, enjoying everything. And his story is this: all of a sudden, we see two jets, fighter jets. And he says, oh my God. And he tells his son, Corey, look at these guys. And they're going under the plane. Now, they just think these guys are just out there doing training.
Just flying, right. Yeah.
All right. Then they come under the plane and go, and next thing he sees the machine guns being like a warning shot. He sees the plume of smoke, and he goes, holy shit, something's not right here.
They scrambled up,
and they're doing tilts. They're doing what they're proving here.
Trying to get you to put it down.
They were giving the guy saying, now the problem was the pilot was on a different frequency than the Peruvian. So they communicate. Oh. No one can hear each other. Well, guess what happened? They engaged.
They shot the plane down.
They shot the plane down. And now, and I'm going to tell you right now, this guy, he's not a jungle guy. He's not a cop. He's not anything. He's a missionary. His courage, his bravery, his will to survive is amazing. So he says, at one point, I grab my son. I look at my wife. She's dead. The baby's dead. Oh. One bullet pierced the back of her. It's horrible. It pierced her back, came through her chest, and lodged in the baby's
and hit him.
head.
Yeah.
One kill shot.
That's awful.
And so he said,
lives.
And so the pilot got his legs shot up. He was bleeding profusely. Got his leg shot. Oof. And so he was able to make. Now think about this. And this is all videotape. It's all on videotape. The CIA was in the air, who runs the platform that receives intel from DEA. That's how it works, right?
Oh.
Well, they were doing a normal training mission, just training. They were out there training, and all of a sudden they see this plane. Well, remember I told you the intel was planes leaving Peru?
Yeah.
What plane brings drugs to Peru? No one.
Right.
There's mistake number one. All right. So the plane goes down, boom, hits into the water. I don't know how he said, Sean, once we hit the water, the fuel from the plane ignited in flames.
Yeah.
And he had to get his poor son out, drag the pilot out, and they were on the wing of the plane. He said, I can't, this is not, and he had to get his wife and baby together so they didn't sink with the plane.
With the plane and forever be stuck in that plane. Yeah.
No training. Who prepares for, I mean,
what adrenaline will do for you.
There you go. So all the village people, so they got, believe it or not, they got a dugout canoe for the pilot, and literally brought him downriver to a witch doctor to
fix him up.
With his, and they brought poor Jimmy and his son Corey to the schoolhouse with the
schoolhouse.
Yeah. And we were, and so here we go. He tells me this story. I said, Jimmy, please tell me you don't have anything on that plane, because they're going to search. He says, I can tell you right now, I have two kilos. When he said kilos, I said, oh, mother of God. He said 2 kilos of farina, which is Portuguese for wheat and flour. Farina. I don't know if you have any Portuguese people there. Farina. I said, Jimmy, please. So fortunately, my guys got there before we left. I said, guys, you watch this plane. Don't let anybody touch this plane. So we have to now fly back. Now I have a Peruvian prosecutor with me. I have the Peruvian colonel with me of the Air Force, and they're hell-bent on prosecuting. And you know what I said? That's crazy.
For what?
I said to the prosecutor, oh, they thought this was a drug plane. We got the call saying plane down, multiple Colombians collecting kilograms of cocaine in the river.
But it wasn't wheat flour.
Complete bullshit.
Yeah.
I told the prosecutor, I said, and I knew him, his name Juan Malca. I said, Juan, I'm going to tell you, and he and I, because of my generosity and my years there, I said, Juan, you got to go with me on this. He said, what are you talking? I said, give me custody of these 2 people. Please don't do this. He said, Sean, I can't. I said, you will, Juan. You will. And you know, by the grace of God, he did. So we got them. When we got back that evening, all right. Now, of course, our night is screwed. Now we can't go out now, right?
Can't go anywhere now.
we go back to the airport in Iquitos. CNN, all the news agents they're filming us. How the hell did they get out? We're blindsided. We don't know what the hell's going on.
Someone fed them the intel.
Able to get a 5-star, believe it or not, 5-star hotel in downtown Iquitos. And we got Jimmy and his son in there, and we stayed with them the whole night. We debriefed them, and we made sure that no one came by them. And how did this happen? So the wife of the pilot was in the United States. She found out about the shoot down. She's all over the press, the news, giving out information. Well, guess what that news came? DEA shoots plane out of the sky.
Oh,
now me and my partner are in an off-site location. Well, it's supposed to be secret. Everyone in the world knew.
Right.
Gringos there are DEA agents. As a matter of fact, anybody who was there, like the military, they all thought they were DEA guys. So there was only 2 at any given time, right?
Right.
Our place got stormed with protesters. La muerte, la DEA, death to the DEA, all this stuff. And and the papers are saying, we're reading the papers. I said, this is crazy. So now
you got blamed, bro.
at least now we have a problem. We have a plane down, right? We have the Peruvian government saying these guys are bad, they're dirty. And I told my guys, don't let anyone. My fear was they were going to flake the plane. They're going to put
absolutely, because they needed it to be dirty,
right?
At that point,
so that Peruvian Air Force colonel, I said, "What the hell happened?" That was all in Spanish. He says, "Ustedes lo disparan." I said, "Me? Are you crazy? Your guys shot him down." It was crazy. I knew the stuff was going to hit the fan. So how do we get the plane out? I mean, we're in a jungle, right?
It's not like you can just be like, hey, get that bulldozer over here. Yeah.
And my buddy Timmy, my partner, he gets a guy way back, halfway to Lima. He has a barge with a crane on it. Well, that takes time to go up there. We get it out, and we get the plane out. It's all over Time Magazine and Miami Herald. They got me and my partner with a plane riddled with bullets, over 180 bullets that thing took, and one bullet pierced the poor wife of Jimmy Bowers. Anyways, make a long story short, we were able to get the plane. Thank God we found the farina.
The farina.
We found there it is, over farina. We found it. Thank God it was no cocaine. And there was a huge investigation, and Jimmy and I became very good friends. He since has moved on with his life, married. He's still in the missionary work. The pilot, he survived his injuries. Poor Corey now must be in his 30s. I mean, what an experience! But he was able to survive this, and he got his wife and children out. Think about it. The flames are circling. The thing could have blown up.
Jet fuel's no joke either.
So that was what, and me and Timmy got the Administrator's Award, which is the highest award, for rescuing and doing the right thing.
Doing the right thing, right?
Imagine if my replacement, who doesn't know shit from Shiola, came in. Those guys would have been arrested.
Oh yeah, he would have just went with it. Like, oh, they're dirty, cool. Let's do this. Like,
and at least I got to tell you, I had no idea. I don't know where I got this thought to strong arm a Peruvian prosecutor, but I did. And
because you knew what was right was right, and what was wrong was wrong. And it's like in those moments, it just takes over. You don't even think about it. It's just almost like muscle memory. If you're a decent human being, that's like, wait a second, hold on, this is wrong. Like, this is something's wrong here. Like,
and like I said, by the grace of God, it had to be because the Peruvian prosecutor, he could have gotten in trouble.
Yeah,
we actually took custody of Jimmy and his son, but in our way. And Jimmy will never forget us for that. And that was it. That was like one of the. Listen, I had other stuff. We're going into the jungles to go to these pozos where they, taking the pure cocaine, making it into base. Well, we had to get there, right? So they had monkeys fucking following us, and they would throw branches down. We were supposed to get the element.
Monkeys are giving away your position, Sean.
We're supposed to get the fucking element of surprise.
God damn monkeys.
Monkeys
I would wonder how shit like that would.
They're fucking going, and they're throwing fucking branches at us. And we got these guys. We're going 3-4 miles on a jaunt into the jungle. We were talking triple canopy. It was fucking hot as hell. You had to have water. If you didn't have water, you were going to be dead. Oh, yeah. These friggin' monkeys killed us.
The damn monkeys giving away the positions. They're like, yeah, you almost did it. You guys should have brought bananas, Sean.
Here's another one. So we had intel that a riverboat was coming up, right? Securing eggs. They hollowed out eggs and put pure cocaine into the eggs. That was the intel. So we go down. It's going to be a nighttime boarding. And we're
How the fuck do you close the egg back up, bro? Well, like with these plastic eggs?
There's a way. Okay, so that's the mission. Well, we get the boat, right? We stop it. So we see the thing coming. We see the lights. I said, oh, this is beautiful. Well, these riverboats have, not going to believe what's on there, right? So you have 5 tiers on these big ass boats, these ships, but they're not, they're jungle type stuff, right?
Yeah.
All right, so you have all the ladies of the night coming back. Unfortunately, they're stable. So you had you had Brazilian and Colombian women going back to their country, and then they're going to pick up the Peruvians who are in Brazil or Colombia. We have them to deal with, right? Then we had the livestock to deal with. Then we had the normal people. So me and my partner and all these cops and Coast Guard, we get on the damn thing. So on one side we're saying, oh, papi chulo, they're going like this to us. I said, oh God. And then we have to find the eggs. There's thousands of eggs. And fortunately we found 900 eggs, right? There was over like 10 kilos hollowed out into the egg, and we found it. But it took all from 2:00 in the morning to 8:00 that morning to find it. And we're just there. And it's like, but it's stuff like that. But here's the thing. What if there was a bad guy on it? I mean, let's face it. They could be shooting at you, and we have no cover. It's kind of primitive in a way, and it's a lot of luck.
It's the jungle, so it's not like you're doing these, in the city, right? Like there's no cars to hide behind. And they often will have like people who are trained narcos to be like in trees and on platforms, things that they built ahead of time to sort of avoid these situations.
But it just shows you the extent that people will go to get their stuff.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is crazy.
Insanity.
Yeah, it was a lot of luck. And so basically, after that, I went back to Lima, and I put in because I did not want to come back as a regular field agent back to domestic. So I put in all these jobs. I got Naples as I was promoted to Naples as a 14. So I got my 14 back. It was the worst assignment I had. Well, it was beautiful in Naples, but as far as work, the guys didn't want to work. And how do your first time supervisor, how do you motivate guys who don't want to work? They paid to get these guys literally paid to get to Naples. You could actually pay your way for an assignment.
Crazy.
And so then I got reassigned to Caracas, Venezuela. And then ultimately, because Chavez, it was a conflict with the government, I was there. Susanna, I had married Susanna, and she said, Sean, this is a shithole. And it used to be, she was over there as a model way back in the late 80s.
Susie's a rock star. Susie, you're a rock star, my friend.
And she said it was beautiful. And when she got there, and she's one of these ladies that really depend on energy. She said,
yeah, you feed off energy.
The energy. And it was true. We'd go in the supermarket. Sometime there was no milk and eggs, and there was no bread. And the next day there was eggs and no whatever.
Yep.
And it was just a beautiful country ruined by drugs. So I had no visa. We were there for 4 weeks. They shipped me back to Naples. I had no job, literally had no job. And then finally I got signed to the money laundering group in Colombia. And that was a whole nother world. What I got.
Oh, I bet we got some good stories from that one. You're going to have to tell us a different time, Sean.
Yeah, we're going to have to do that because I do have I do have another Zoom I have to do for this other project I'm working on.
I know. So. Sean's turning into a pumpkin real soon.
Yeah. But, like I said, I mean, listen, there's all kinds of danger and but it's all about training. Everything revolves around the training and how you apply it. So that's why I can say right now, I have all the holes I entered law enforcement with, I came out with, except for a couple operations I had. So, but other than that.
Did you ever think to yourself, like at any point being in the DEA, did you ever think like, the war on drugs was like purposeless? Like, did you ever think like all this stuff I did, is it purposeless? Because it's just going to keep coming?
Let's face it. All right. Coca leaf is the prerequisite for cocaine, right? Without the leaf, you can't have cocaine, right?
That's right.
Now, you can make things synthetically with other chemicals like fentanyl, all that other stuff. But at least for the coca leaf and the poppy fields, all they had to do, instead of putting billions of dollars into this,
burn the fields.
Just take it, burn them, pay the money to the poor. Now, listen, I got to meet farmers. And they would look at us and say, you're taking money from my children. They would look at the children. And some, and like they said, you gringos, you're the ones that are helping us in this cause. You think people are going to buy Peruvian coffee? That's what they gave them. Cacao, coffee, or coffee.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to say, but instead of giving the governments all this money, they could have given it to the poor farmers and say, here you are for all your labors. We get rid of the damn fields. You know what they do? They had this alternate development. Abandon your field and we'll give you money to start up another crop.
Right.
They said, give me the money. They took the money. They didn't do the crop. They went and did another crop, another area of the jungle. And listen, we flew over. The coca leaf is really beautiful. It really is. It's a whole different color green. And, it was just
but you're right. They could have just and spent billions and billions and billions of dollars.
Eradicate the leaf, eradicate the poppy that basically
that you have to use to make it.
For heroin,
Yeah.
But then again, here's the bottom line. As long as there's a market, they will create a drug like fentanyl. This fentanyl is horrible. It's all synthetic.
Horrible.
Yeah. So
that wasn't prevalent back when I got sober. It was there, but it was rare. Like now it's freaking everywhere because we're fast forward almost 20 years later,
You remember how the old meth, people made meth. They started in hotel rooms and then they branched out to, mobile homes. Well,
mobile homes or campers.
Anybody that goes into a hotel room now, right? Because this is how they're cutting up fentanyl and lacing it with whatever. oxys, whatever. 2 or 3 grains of fentanyl will kill you.
Yeah.
Will kill. So if you touch a desk in a hotel room, right?
And it has it. Yeah.
Yeah. You have the ability of, for some reason,
straight into your bloodstream. It goes right through your pores.
Kill you, right? And that's the problem. But you're right. If it was a true war, it would have been over by now, and it's still flourishing.
It's like a never-ending one, right? That you never win.
You see them blowing up these boats now coming out of Venezuela. Well, listen, blow up the fields. Take away the prerequisites for cocaine and heroin, right? Like for example,
there's a reason they don't.
I'll tell you real quick. In Afghanistan, when the whole thing broke out with 9/11, right? We knew exactly where the poppy fields were in Afghanistan, right? And my thing was this: give Command Central over there, right, the coordinates, and let them blow up those poppy fields.
Drone, right?
Wouldn't do it. Wouldn't do it. So
why though? That's the question: is why?
It's all about the money.
Yeah, exactly. All about the money.
It's all about the footprint we have overseas. And let's face it, if there's drugs, there's a bigger footprint, because if DEA is there, then the CIA has the ability to move in, surreptitiously under the guise, and they come in as,
military
guys.
Yeah.
They come in as military econ guys. They have their fake job in the embassy, but they do the night stuff, which is fine. But let's face it, who's shitting who here? That's what I say.
No one, right?
Right. At least, listen, I could do this all day long.
I know you could,
I'm up against a hard thing right now, and I know I'm late for this other thing, but I just want to say, at least I do value our friendship. I know that's pretty, maybe some of your followers, because listen, it did get crazy in the beginning, right? I was naive. I said, oh, they're not going to attack me. I got fucking attacked. Listen, I got the arrows in my back. I do.
Yeah.
And again, listen, it was toxic. And
toxic.
And it's sad, because it didn't have to be that way.
So sad, because it still doesn't have to be that way.
Right. So I see a lot of people there, filthy rat bastard. I great to see you, Joey Rogie, Karen McCormick. Listen, all that crazy Sean shit I did, with Karen and poor Julie, and listen. It was just it was a get back thing, Kevin. Listen, Kevin and I speak, Julie and I speak, you and I speak, Karen and I speak, right? I mean, it's over. The whole thing's over, right?
It's been over for a long time. I'm hoping people can. There are so many missed connections, friendships, because of that case that could have happened. People who have more in common than they even realize.
Families are separated because of it.
Yeah.
So
over the case.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree, Heartstar. I think Karen's evil. I just do. She's not. Most people, even on the Free Karen Read side, say she's not a good person. They don't think she's a good person. Some of them think she's innocent, but they don't think she's a good person.
Well, listen. The jury spoke. Wherever it is, the jury spoke. The science contribute. Listen, I don't know. Is Hillbilly still here? I'll always go down. It was always about the taillight. For me, it was always about the taillight. And that's it. And like I said, I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate the fact that your followers are so nice. They didn't have to be. And like I said, you must have
they're good people. They're good people. I have a good community where they can respect my platform and respect that I am trying to, at the same time, sort of point out that, like, we don't have to spew so much hate and vitriol at each other. It can be, you don't have to agree with someone, but I bet you have more in common with someone than you even realize. And that the person that created this anger and this vitriol and this, I need to destroy anybody who doesn't agree with me thing, was the sewer turtle to begin with. And I think we need to end it at some point. And now would be a good time to say, we don't need to just hate one another because you disagreed on a case. People don't have to be calling people's jobs, like poor Christina here, calling her job. Like, this stuff doesn't have to happen. You don't have to agree with someone, right? Like, you do not have to agree with someone online, but to go the extra steps to be bullying and harassing it, like, it's got to end at some point. And I don't think it would have got to that point if Aiden wasn't the one running the charge.
Like I said, it is what it is. We have the pieces to pick up now, and hopefully everyone can move on. I value our friendship there, Elise. And I'll come back anytime you want. And It's always great to talk with you. I know we have conversations all the time offline, which is great.
Yeah.
And we have we have different opinions, but that doesn't mean you have to hate each other, right?
Of course not.
Right.
Me and Sean have been friends for a long time now, and I value my friendship with Sean. And even with the flack that people would give me, like, I don't understand why it doesn't matter what he believes. I believe something different, and that's okay. But we have so many other things in common, right? Like, there's no reason to hate each other over one thing.
And here's the thing. Here's a classic thing. This thing with Charlie Kirk, right? Look at the hatred. I mean, okay, so the guy had his own opinion, right? He believed what he believed. He got killed for believing
what he believed. Yeah.
And people are supporting that.
Listen, I don't ever support somebody being assassinated, and I don't have to agree to the guy's politics to know that what happened was wrong. And that's the part that, like, I've been trying to sort of feed into people, which is like, I didn't agree with a lot of the things that Charlie Kirk said. I agree that I like my gun rights. I like my gun rights. Yes. I like my, First Amendment rights, but I also think that there's, limits, going into criminality and hate and all that stuff. But all of that aside, shooting someone, assassinating someone in the head in front of their family and in front of thousands of people, like, there is you don't like the guy? Cool. You don't have to listen to him. It's really that simple. Just, it's humane. It's the human thing to do, to say condolences. There's nothing political about saying condolences, and people are being attacked by being like, you're saying condolences. That means you support Charlie Kirk because you're saying no, it means you're human. And just saying, like, someone shouldn't be killed, assassinated is human. It's the moral, common sense thing to say.
It was senseless. And like I said, but look at the division. So we come from a society now that we saw in Karen Reed, we're seeing now in Charlie Kirk, we're seeing in the Trump, whatever.
Yeah.
Like I said,
hate, just hate.
It's hate. It is hatred. It's fueled. Why it's fueled. But anyways, Elise, thank you for having me. Your followers are true testament to you and your platform, and I really appreciate coming on. And I hope
I try. We're gonna have to have you back on, because we got more stories we got to talk about here.
Sure. Yeah, and my buddy Kenny was the backup supervisor for the hunt for Pablo Escobar. He's got great stories. I mean, he supervised. If you all watched the Netflix series Narcos, Kenny was the actual supervisor for Murphy and Javier Pena. And the thing about when the Escobar family flew from Bogota to Germany, Kenny was on that flight. Kenny was the one that monitored and make sure that the Escobar family did not seek asylum in Germany.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, he's great. So listen, here's the bottom line. We can come back, and Kenny and I can talk to your followers.
Sounds good to me, Sean. I'm in.
It's just so good not to talk about Karen Reed anymore. It really is.
The point of the show was to exactly not do that.
Exactly.
I can hit on those topics myself, but the point of having you on was to not do that. It was to talk about the other things that we talk about, and talk about the other things that you have experience in other than Karen Reed. Right.
Well, listen, Elise, thank you again. Thank you,
Sean.
Thank you to your followers here in the chat. The comments are great. And hey, listen, I love you all. That's the bottom line. I mean, we need more love, less hate. That's where it comes from.
It's exactly what we need. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate you. I'll follow up with you later, obviously, after the show and after your other show. And good luck.
Hopefully, I'll have my camera fixed by then.
I know, right?
Take care of yourself. All
Bye,
right?
Sean.
Bye-bye.
I mean, I think I agree. We all want justice. The point of this show wasn't the Karen Reed case, though, Heartstar, and it wasn't to ask Sean why he thinks Karen's innocent. I know why he thinks. I think he's made his position clear, and I've had that conversation with him. The point of this show was not that, right? The point of this show was more about what Sean did in the DEA and his experiences there, because there are so many other things people have in common that they don't even realize, or things that the point is to not spread this hate that we saw in the Karen Reed case. And even Sean regrets some of the things he said and did. And I think a lot of people have. I've had a lot of people come to me and say the same thing. And I think it's important to show people that it didn't have to be like that, right?
I think it was like that because of the person leading the charge, right? The sewer turtle led the charge of that anger and that hate, and that we need to tear everyone apart that doesn't believe what we believe. And we need to, dig into their personal lives and do all this BS that doesn't need to happen, right? I don't have to like any one person. I don't have to watch them. It's really that simple. But I also don't have to go and then attack them. The senseless attacks I was dealing with in the last 2 weeks from some of these people that just ride on the back of the Karen Reed case and Sewer Turtle as a whole just goes to show you they're still holding on for dear life, and they don't have content. So their content is to go after anybody that the Sewer Turtle doesn't like as soon as he gives that dog whistle. Just right away. Boom, done. And I think it's time to move on from that. There are a lot of things happening in that case. And when me and Sean say move on, we don't mean like you don't cover the case and like the things that are happening with the investigation when it comes to Karen, because she's being investigated right now. It doesn't mean don't cover those things. It means that every single show does not need to be about Karen Reed, right? It just doesn't. That's what it means. It doesn't mean we don't cover it and we don't talk about it when things happen, right? It just means everyone's platform isn't 24/7 Karen Reed content, and there are people still holding on to that 24/7 Karen Reed content because they want the money that comes with the 24/7 Karen Reed content, right? Listen, again, Sean believes in his taillight theory, and that's okay. I disagree with him, right? I disagree with him in that theory because there was pieces of taillight in John's clothing, as we know. But the again, the point of this show wasn't to really delve into Karen Reed. You know what I mean? It was more about like, it's time to realize where people fucked up and where they followed the mob along and start figuring out how to fix this fucking mess of people attacking one another like it's a game, like it's fun. And with that, as a matter of fact, I am going to announce that beautiful Donna here is relaunching her t-shirts in about 2 weeks' time. And she has a YouTube channel. So if you follow, it's at Donna, it's her name, at and then her name. Right here on the screen. She is relaunching those t-shirts. And I think it's amazing. And she's offering to take the extra money that she gains in profit at some point and sort of have a little fund for Aiden's victims to help out anybody that needs that help. And I think that's amazing. She doesn't have to offer to do anything, right? She doesn't have to offer to give a single penny to anybody. She surely doesn't have to relaunch after the attacks. And I think it's very brave of her to do so. Yeah, fucking multivitamin. You look like shit. Take a goddamn multivitamin, fucking Kyle. God damn it. All right, take it. You look like shit, sir. Take a goddamn multivitamin. But this is why having the conversation is important. This is why I'm saying, like, people there. My inbox is full of people who regret the things they said and they did, and full of people who admit it is a cult. And that they did not realize it until they're out of it. And I think it's kind of the way cults work, right? Is you don't realize you're in a cult until you're out of said cult, and then whatever. So, you always have good one-liners. Like, duh. you always have good one-liners, Kyle. Always. And I think that's great, Donna. I think that's freaking amazing. So in 2 weeks, she'll be relaunching those t-shirts. And it's definitely time to sort of try to put these pieces back together, right? Right. I am tapped out. Like, I've had a long week, but I am tapped out of this everyone needs to be destroyed thing, right? I am so tapped out of that. It wouldn't have been that way if it weren't for one singular person, right? One singular person creates this amount of hate. And because everybody thinks they're going to get this pat on the back and this, you're welcome into my circle of cool kids at the Cool Kids Club, if you behave in this way, all of these people think that behaving in that way will give them clout with the sewer turtle, and it will give them some sort of, pat on the back. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. It really is, because I can't imagine spending all that time just hating people. I mean, that's pretty sad. I think Karen's going to get karma. That's my opinion. Karma is going to come for her, and she deserves to be sitting in jail. That's my opinion. She's already being investigated right this very minute, as is the sewer turtle or some other stuff. So I do believe that the universe comes to collect on karma, but it doesn't matter whether other people agree with me or not. I don't have to want to hate people who have a different opinion than me or destroy their lives. And again, there's a short list of people that don't deserve any, help when it comes to that department, right? Like there are a short list of people who did things like calling jobs and laughed about it and thought it was so funny, destroying other people's lives. And there's a short list of those people that they could apologize 75 times and they can take that apology and shove it. And I've taken a lot of apologies from a lot of people, but there are a few people that I would never take that apology from. They can keep that goddamn apology. But what I don't want is I don't want this anger and this hate to keep going, because you're splitting a community of people, right? There's a ton of people who do true crime, right? And there are a lot of people that just want to like help, right? If they can find something in a picture. Do you know how many times a sleuth from home has helped solve a case? A lot. A lot of times just new eyes, fresh eyes on something actually helps out a lot. And I wish it could be more like that, where people are willing to just want to help out and not fight each other, right? What does that do exactly? Well, for me, there's a list. I'm sure there's a list for every person of people, right? Yeah. Blocking, muting, those are your best friend, all of those things are options. I do it as well. I take a lot of heat from some of these people because I simply do not give an actual fuck. There they go. All the fucks that I gave, they're gone. They're flying away right now. Boop. It's my shirt today says, "Have the day you deserve." And I fully believe it's a have the day you deserve day, right? If you put shitty karma onto this earth, that is what you will get back. I think at some point we have a responsibility to try to bridge this gap of hate and anger and try to change it, right? I know that there are probably people who are forever going to be riding his ass of anger and hate because they just don't know anything else, right? They just don't know anything else. They think that that's going to get them something. It's not, right? It's not. All it's going to get them is burned in the long run. If anybody didn't notice, anything he touches turns to shit, and for very good reason. He cannot take responsibility for anything. Everything is everybody else's fault. And the amount of hate and vitriol he spits out, it's funny because he has no problem talking about other people's personal lives, even when he enters information that's just bold-faced lies about people. He has no problem doing that, okay? But the second someone calls out his own personal life, you see his little followers be like, well, that's his personal life. That excuse is long gone. You can't say, well, that's his personal life while he sits there and talks shit about everybody else's, personal life. That's not the way it works. It's just not. I mean, that's not the way 4 years are supposed to be used either. It's a break in terms of service of YouTube to be doing that kind of stuff. It just doesn't make sense. Well, he's looking for all sorts of stuff. He's run out of content at this point. So, I mean, the rage bait that was, what just happened with Barstool Sports there. I mean, let's get real. That tweet was a rage content creation sort of, oh, well, if I rile people up, they're gonna, interject on my behalf. That didn't actually, I mean, there were a couple people that attempted to sort of interject on his behalf, but most of them did not. Most of them were like, you got this one wrong, bud. You got this one wrong. This one is wrongzo. Wrongzo. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. It really, really is. Well, that's the thing. We don't have to be hateful people, right? The bitch assery is absurd at this point, And yes, they've chosen that over integrity by a lot. And there are people still doing it, they're kind of ruining YouTube and what it was meant for a lot of people and in the enjoyment other people get out of it. I don't come here to harass people, to intimidate people, to bully people. And I tell you guys all the time, do not do that on my behalf. Do not go and harass people or talk shit to people on my behalf. I'm a big girl. I can handle my own. I don't think that platforms should ever be used in a way to try to harass or intimidate or, ruin someone's life, use their past as some sort of way to get at them. Everybody has probably done something they're not proud of or been through something really hard. And I don't think somebody using their tragedies or their pain is like a funny joke. It's not a funny joke to use someone's addiction against them. It's not a funny joke to use someone's essay as a child against them. It's just not. It's not cute. It's not okay. And I will forever stand up for anybody that had anything like that happen to them, because I'm a survivor of those things. There's a reason why I advocate for people who have dealt with the same types of things, whether it's domestic violence, SA as a child, addiction, abuse in foster care. There are many things I hold dear to my heart. Kids with some serious, medical because of my kid. And I'm never going to be on the side of it's okay to use those things to harm someone. It's more than cruel, right? It's more than cruel. That kind of hate in someone's heart will eat away at them until there is no more left of them. And that's what we have seen literally with the sewer turtles. There's nothing left but a shell of a person. A shell of a person looking for the fame and fortune that they thought they had when it came to the Karen Reed case and still trying to ride that. It's unfortunate. I got hands, I got legs, I got sunglasses. I'll throw my goddamn sunglasses too, you know what I'm saying? I'll throw these goddamn sunglasses. Everyone, including him. It's the part that gets me where it's like, it's okay for him to do X, Y, and Z, but everybody else is a bad person. And it's amazing to me, the double standards and the hypocrisy. And the people that are throwing around more hate on his behalf have the worst skeletons in their closet. So it's the lack of self-awareness for me. If you did something shitty, don't you want to be better? Don't you want to be better? Don't you want to do better? I just don't understand. Don't you want to be a better human? Don't you want to do better for other people? Instead, you continue to spread around hate and anger and vitriol and hope that it'll get the seals clapping enough to keep donating to your channel. I would rather be real every single day of the week and say what I mean and mean what I say and make nothing than have a bunch of people donate based on lies and things that I don't actually believe, but I'm going to say anyway because it's going to make me dollars and cents. Because that's what we're dealing with. Listen, occupation, not firefighter. You don't want this smoke, okay? Just remember that. Occupation, not firefighter. All right? You don't want this smoke over here. All right, Kyle? It's funny to me that these people don't stop and think at some point, like, wait a second, have I gone too far? Wait a second, is what I am doing right? Or is what I'm doing wrong? Is it worth the extra couple dollars and cents I'm getting to do this? Because I promise you, every single one of the people that are, eventually he'll turn on. Whether it's a petty jealousy issue, whether he got caught lying and they were a part of, accidentally ratting him out in a way, dry snitching on him, whatever. Whether he hurt somebody they care about and they finally stepped up and were like, hey, that's too far. He will, quote, then end them and, quote, destroy them and, quote, do they know who he is? These are the same lines he uses in DMs all over the place. You know who I am? You know what I can do to you? No. Okay. I'm going to ceasefire because I don't think he knows how to ceasefire. I don't think he knows how to do that. Right. I don't think he knows how to just even be a decent human being. I think that the people who are helping him, the only way they're going to learn is when it happens to them. And it's unfortunate. It is absolutely freaking unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I hope that people start learning that hate ain't the way to go. It's just not. The reality of the situation is there are so many people that kind of just jumped on that bandwagon, hoping that, they're going to make all the money in the world off of this case, that they were willing to say or do whatever his audience wanted them to say or do. And they continue that to this day. even if it's things they don't believe in, even if it's things they think are mean or awful or vile, they keep their mouths shut because they're afraid of being the next person attacked. If you're afraid of your so-called friend, then that's not a friend. It's not a friend. If you have to be afraid of someone or afraid of what you are going to say, if you have to be afraid to say, I actually like Elise, if you have to be afraid of that, right? That's a fucking problem. That's a problem. The amount of people that I have spoken to privately with that told me the exact same thing. I had to point out, like, in the moment, you didn't think, like, the fact that I have to be afraid of saying what I actually think or believe, and that I'm going to be attacked for it, and that people are going to harass my life. You didn't stop and think, like, hey, maybe something ain't right here, right? Like something ain't right. Nobody stopped to think about that. No, I mean, they realize it afterwards, and it's unfortunate that it has to be afterwards, right? It could be right now that they realize this, you know? Again, I'm friends with the Alberts. So the way they were treated, absolutely not okay. The way they're still treated, absolutely not okay. And I think it goes to show you how many people, though, are willing to just jump on that bandwagon so quickly and do things that are not, by any stretch of the imagination, normal human behavior. Is it normal to show up outside somebody's house you don't know? No. Is it normal to send emails to people you don't know, calling them all sorts of names and telling them to themselves? Nope, but I've gotten a lot of those. Is it normal to send emails or DMs or text message someone you don't know, call someone you don't know and say a bunch of shit that isn't even true, but you were fed it, so you believe it to be true because that's what other people online said, so it just automatically has to be true in your mind, and then regurgitate that to someone and tell them what an awful person they are for the lies that you're repeating? That's not normal. Right? That's not normal behavior. And no one stops and goes, wait a second, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Why? No one stops to think, why? Why am I doing this? For what reason? For what real reason? It's always all or nothing. And I think it attracts an all or nothing crowd. There are some people that just aren't, mentally okay, that sort of latch onto these things and hang on until the very end. And then there are people who started doing and saying things they never thought they would say or do, and realize later on, like, yeah, it's a cult. And I clearly was sort of kind of brainwashed into like saying and doing things I wouldn't normally say or do. And that is the root of the problem. That's the root of the problem. The amount of people who have said to me, like, I understand why people call it a cult now, because it is. And these are people who were in said cult. Okay. It's unfortunate, right? We need like a whole sign that says this. Dot-isms. The dot-isms. Kyle-isms. Yeah, lack of nuance, definitely, for sure. To me, it's not hard to figure out what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. If you're being told someone is bad, do you ever question why? Do you ever question why you're told that? What is the motivation behind the person who's saying it? Nobody ever stops to question what the motivation would have been for that person to attack. And I think when they get the real answer to that question is when they have to stop and think and go, oh shit. It's unfortunate. They're not. There's no such thing. There's always gray, right? Always. People just assume that everything is black and white and straightforward, and it isn't, right? It isn't. I don't know. It's amazing, right? I mean, it isn't like anybody who defends me to him. No, that's a big no. You can't do that. That's not allowed in that world. And you're not the only one, Lisa. You're not the only one. You are one of many. One of many. Because they don't realize they're in a cult at that point, It totally, 100%. Coming after anybody's kids is wrong, no matter what way you slice it. Well, yeah. It's funny you say that, Lisa, because
you're probably one of at least 24 people that said that same thing to me over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, which was that was the beginning of them questioning, was right there. Right there was the beginning of it, of them starting to question things. There is nothing I wouldn't do for my babies. And I don't think any parent, there wasn't anything that any of us wouldn't do for our babies, you know? Colin's whole life has been thrown into disarray, and it's not fair. You know, he was just a kid trying to go through college, and that's been ruined for him. And nobody can ever give that back to him, you know? Well, he's in jail right now. And you know, there was some, I mean, I think he was way over the line, not more than once, but more than a bunch of times, you know? My kids always come first. That's like a whole long story for another day, but let's just put it this way. If you lie about someone's kid, don't expect them to not come after you. And if you start harassing them, showing up at their house, making false reports on them, don't be surprised when you end up in jail like he is. That's, you know what I mean? Very unstable. There are some very unstable people on this earth, especially online, you know? Christian Buckner was released today. You know, there's been so much in the news on true crime lately, that just so much. I'm sure he did make money on that, you know? Apparently at that event, Bettero got a drink thrown in his face. I don't know, I wasn't there, but that's apparently what happened, you know? I don't know. I don't know. 20, that's all they take is 25%? Interesting. Yeah, but the whole point of my show was no, like with him, was to not deal with the Karen Read stuff, other than like mentioning like that's what started the catalyst of the anger and the vitriol and the hate. What he chooses to do or doesn't choose to do is between him and his God. You know, I think if anybody realized they were wrong, they should apologize. I mean, I've gotten quite a few apologies. I also haven't gotten quite a few apologies. And it's funny because some of the apologies that I haven't gotten are from people who immediately knew it was lies when I was being attacked, and still know, but were too afraid at the time to stand up for me, and still are. They just go on with the lie because they're too afraid to say, wait, I was there. That didn't happen. That speaks volumes. If you have to be afraid of saying what the truth is for fear of being attacked, that's a huge freaking problem. That's a huge freaking problem. You should never have fear of being attacked for saying what the truth is, just because it's something that the Two Turtles want to hear. It's the reality of it. I mean, Dave Portnoy did just call him an idiot yesterday. That happened. You know, I mean, yeah, it's the adult way, right? Put your big girl, big boy dun-dun-dun on and apologize if you do something wrong. You know, everyone is a work in progress. I talked to his family, not specifically Colin himself, but his dad, his aunt. He's okay, but again, he's been through a lot. He's been through a freaking lot. And, you know, he'll never be the same. It's that simple. He'll never be the same, ever. And it's unfortunate because that didn't have to happen. Colin didn't deserve that. Nobody did, you know? Yeah, it's unfortunate because it'll just keep being a thing until people start figuring it out. And it's not Colin's job to make people figure it out, but at the same time, they could just leave him alone. It's really that simple. They choose not to. They choose to continue on doing dumbass shit. And that's what I'm trying to show people is wrong. Like that kind of hate that they're spreading, for what reason? Because a sewer turtle claps you on because you think you're going to gain some sort of clout for sending him a turtle chat. I promise you, when his show is over and he presses the button and leaves, he doesn't look at his, you know, turtle chats and the money that he brought in that night and says, I am so grateful. He does the opposite. As a matter of fact, he laughs and says, wow, I berated this person like a week ago and here they are still sending me money. They're kissing my ass. And that's exactly what happens. It's almost like a Stockholm syndrome with some people. I kid you not. You know, they would rather, I guess, donate to someone very hateful than, donate to make something better. And that, I think, will forever make no sense to me. I would rather donate to a content creator that I believe in, or one that I think is a decent person, than keep giving money to someone who has proven themselves to be just a shitty human over and over and over. If you are doing shitty things to people in your personal life, then you're going to do shitty things to people publicly. It doesn't, stand to reason that if his entire personal life is a dumpster fire of lies, and I don't mean like, oh, he had a breakup. Well, but why does his personal life fall apart every time? Lies. Every single time. It's lies. Stand to reason that he's not honest publicly either. I don't understand why that's such a stretch for some people. For them to understand. It's like they will defend him, some of these people, no matter what he says or does. And he knows it, which is what he feeds off of. So he literally will be laughing like, oh, I made $500 tonight. Haha, these suckers. Whereas most of us are like, we appreciate it. We appreciate any $1 someone decided to give, whether it was $1, whether it was $5, whether it was 10, we appreciate it. He just doesn't. I don't think he has that sort of chip in his brain to care about anybody else but himself, unfortunately, I try, my friend. I try. You know what I'm saying? I try. I don't just say shit to say shit, right? Most of you who have been around long enough to know me long enough know that. And yeah, name calling, like what he did recently to Donna is what he has done to people for the last 10 years, right? What he did to Esty, like for what? For what reason? And let's make something very clear here. This whole she stole a seat thing isn't real, okay? Not real. Not a real thing. That is literally a made-up fantasy for why he needed to tell people to hate her, right? It was made up. Completely and utterly made up. And it was a way for him and his little minions in that little circle to say, oh, we don't like this person anymore. We need to push them out of our circle. And I'll tell you why. Petty jealousy. The Sewer Turtle was very upset that SC had more access to Karen than he did. And he was not happy about that. And therefore he needed to, quote, take her out. And he hoped that Karen would sort of, give him more access after this person was gone. But he doesn't think things through when he does them. He acts on emotion. He doesn't go, oh, wait, attacking her is going to show that I'm a shitty person and that I just do shit for shits and giggles, not because it makes any sense, right? I did. So let me just tell you guys that Esty did volunteer work in Boston, these kind of hearings before the Karen Reed case. She lives in Boston and did these kind of hearings long before the Karen Reed case ever existed. So she kind of, brought her efforts back to that after the case ended to try to make where she lives a better place. Because I'll tell you, in Boston right now, it is a fucking shit show. You don't have to live right next to, Boston Medical Center to know it has grown exponentially, the issues. And you shouldn't be finding needles on the side of the road where your child can pick it up way down in the financial district. But that's what's happening, right? And anybody who gets involved in their local, government to try to make things better, why is that a fucking problem? He has to bring it up because it's another attack. It's another dog whistle. It's a way for him to make himself content while attacking someone he, quote, doesn't like. If anybody bothered, including him, to do 10 seconds of research, they would have found that this was something she has been doing for a long time in the area that she lives. And it's not news, other than it's a good thing to do. Most people should get involved in your local government, try to make your own community better. Like, that's something everyone should do. No matter how you help your community, that's up to you. But whether it's making, homeless care backpacks or trying to figure out another way to open up an addiction center, get these people off the streets, whatever the case may be, whatever kind of work you want to do in your own community, I think it's good. There's never, only an asshole can turn something good into something bad. Okay? Only a complete and utter fucking asshole and pathetic human being can turn something decent into something bad. And he does it almost every day.
Oh my God, look at this person. How do you turn something decent into something bad? By saying it's for attention. Look at them. They're just looking for attention. She has no control over what they air and what they don't air. Literally. Okay. There were like 200 people, almost, I think it was like 100 and something scheduled to speak. She has no control over who they decide to play clips of at all. So to sit there and disingenuously say, oh, well, she's looking for attention. See, she did this. It's just a way to take shots at her. It's just a way to be an asshole and to rile up a mob for some more content of the day, you know? I'd love to know when there's one single fucking time he's ever helped somebody that didn't benefit himself. Just one, ever, where it didn't benefit him to help that person. You know? I mean, it's gross. It's gross. You're hitting on somebody going to their own community meetings. That's fucking gross. So the civil suits, you have to remember. Do you guys remember back when the O'Keefes filed their suit, right? And the judge was like, well, we're not going to do this suit right now. Pause. This is on a pause now until the criminal stuff wraps up. More than likely, that's the exact same thing that will happen here. They'll wait until any criminal cases with him wrap up. And so it's better off to just wait until you're at the end of that to file than it is to file it and then have the judge be like, nope, it's on a pause anyway. Also, it gives more time to keep bringing in more and more and more and more and more evidence, you know, and unfortunately, I'll say every single day there's more. Every single day there's more to add to that civil suit. Every frigging day. Realistically, that civil suit's not going to continue until the criminal stuff is at its end, right? So there's no purpose in filing it right this very second when the judge is going to put a freeze on it anyway until the criminal stuff is over. So that's why you're not seeing a civil suit right now, because nothing's going, the judge would just put a freeze on it right now anyway. When you start getting down to where it's the end of his criminal stuff, that's when you'll start seeing the civil cases with him kick up. Because his criminal stuff isn't anywhere near close to over yet. You know, and he's got, I know it's either the 26th or the 28th. I have to look. It's one or the other of this month. He has one here. It's either the 26th or the 28th. I have to look to see which date it is. And then he's got New Jersey. And still, we don't know if New Jersey's going to criminally charge him. And I'm hearing some whispers of something else in New Jersey, although I haven't been able to confirm it yet. I'm hearing some whispers about something else that could be coming out of New Jersey. So you never know. I mean, there are states that won't, you know, F around. Not every state is like Massachusetts. So if you commit a crime against somebody in another state and they can charge you, well, then you have to deal with that state's laws. Or even worse, if you cross state lines, it could become federal, and then you got to deal with the federal government. But you know what? He doesn't have to worry about that because it's already happening, right? That's already happening. The federal government's already looking into him and her. So, actually, I wanted a name that sort of allowed me to cover various cases. And because most cases are part of a tragedy in some way, and most of the cases have some sort of twist and turn, it sort of just fit. And people shortened it to like TT to like, you know, talk. And I thought that was really cool, but I never, you know, figured out, at least in my head, I didn't go, oh, twisted tragedies, they'll, you know, viewers will shorten it to TT. They shortened it on their own, just a way to like say in chat, like, hi, TT, instead of writing out twisted tragedies. But I wanted something that allowed me to sort of cover various topics and things that didn't just hone in on one specific thing. You know, like if I want to cover missing persons, which is near and dear to my heart, and cover an ongoing current case, that title sort of allows me that leeway to cover all sorts of different things. So that is why. I actually had a vote on, I think it came down to like 3 names
And on the Facebook page, I had a vote on which ones people liked the best, and that one won. And so that is the one that we chose way back when. But welcome, by the way, welcome. Order out. Ooh, fancy girl, fancy. I know. Listen, I've been dying for breadsticks for like 2 weeks now. I have not been able to get them, but I've had a long freaking week. You're welcome. Well, I don't think that, you know, Karen or her various lawyers have a chance in hell of winning that civil case. The standard is basically, is it likely that this happened? It's not, you have to prove it 100%. It's not like a criminal case. It's, is it likely that happened? And yeah, so for me, it's kind of a no-brainer, in my opinion, what's going to happen. You can grandstand with all the attorneys that you want on planet Earth, and it's just not going. You can have 77 attorneys, but the law is the law. The evidence is the evidence. It isn't going to magically make you win because you have more attorneys. You know, that was a good one. Yeah, that was a good one. You know, I wish we had more time with Sean because, like I said, he needed to turn into a pumpkin and poof somewhere else. But, you know, he has so many other, you know, things to offer an audience of people about his career and the things that he experienced in his career. And I was also going to do like a Q&A, but we really didn't have time for all that. But we'll reschedule him back in and try to do another one. Big motion one on Karen stuff, does he mean, or his own ridiculous answer to the civil suit? I'm guessing you can just bet that's filled with bullshit. Or do you mean something in Karen's case where her team's going to file some ridiculous grandstanding thing or a lawsuit that ultimately will lose anyway? His own, yeah. So basically just whining and bitching via the court and saying a bunch of shit that isn't true. That's what you can bet on. I don't know who he's fooling at this point. He's well aware of the evidence that exists against him. You know, he is well aware. So I really don't know why he continues on with this facade other than trying to grift every penny and dollar he can until shit is released publicly in his court case. That he's going to keep doubling and tripling down until all that shit comes out. But then what? Then what? You're going to look into the screen and say, I lied? No. Or you're going to try to spin. It's the only thing he can do is spin. So once again, he either takes a deal, okay, because he doesn't want that shit out there. Does not want all that shit out there. And that avoids discovery coming out in a trial if you just make a deal, right? So either he makes a deal or he takes it to trial and knows that all of it's going to come out. For what? For which civil case? For Karen's civil case or for like what for the Albert's civil case, for an upcoming civil case? Which civil are we talking about? Karen's civil case, the one that's already happening, the O'Keefe's civil case? Well, cases can take years. They can take years. But again, they're both under investigation right now. Right this very second. So, I mean, if I had to guess, I'd guess you're probably going to see some charges from that, right? So people can be deposed. So they can be, you know, ask questions and they'd have to give a deposition. If they feel like Aperture is a person they need to depose, then yeah. If the FBI guys are people they feel like they need to depose, then yeah. I mean, that's all dependent on what, you know, what the reasoning behind having them be deposed is and what the judge says. You know, I just have a feeling he will. Because here's the kicker, right? If he doesn't plea, you're risking over 100 years in jail if you lose. Number one. Number two, you're risking everything that you don't want public, all the lies you've been telling people all this time, to become public in a trial. There's no backing out of it. Once it's all public, he could spin until the cows come home, but you can't spin when it's right there in black and white. People can no longer say he's not that stupid and wouldn't do that when it's right there. So my inclination is he will plea to keep that from coming out. That's my inclination. If he doesn't, he's got to be the stupidest person on planet Earth. Although it's debatable, I mean, it's not too smart, but in order to stop that stuff from coming out, at least what bit of it he can stop from coming out, the stuff that other people don't already have that was in his devices, you would take a plea. There's no other way to stop all that stuff from coming out publicly. He can say a million times over he's not afraid. He is fucking petrified. If I was him, I would be. From the stuff that I have alone from some of his victims, some of the blackmail, some of the threats, I'd be all the wiretap. I'd be afraid if I was him. Absolutely, I'd be fucking afraid. Because if the public gets to see all of that in writing, they get to see the harassment, the threats that he sent, many people. They get to see the way he tried to blackmail people. They get to see how many people he wiretapped and all the things he said about people behind their backs and how funny he thought it was. He's done forever. He is done. So, I mean, what are your options? Risk 105 plus years in jail or take a plea and stop the stuff that you can stop from coming out. Oh, he'll definitely spin it. But even if 80% of them see it in black and white, are like, oh shit, I said he would never do that and wouldn't be that stupid, but there it is. Of course, there's still going to be like 10 people, or maybe even 20 that sit there and their fake accounts that sit there and defend until the end, the indefensible. But most people will scatter and say, oh, whoa, that's a lot of stuff I didn't know, and I don't want to be a part of that. And it's unfortunate because so many people tried to warn people. And at least, when people do come and apologize, they oftentimes will say to me, I wish I had listened to you. I wish I listened when you said, hold up, this is not a good person. Like, I'm warning you now. This is what's going to happen. And it's like, I can't. All I can do is say, you should know better. How you learn that is on you. All I can do is try, Yeah, well, he's very wrong. Anybody who thinks they're untouchable is very, very wrong. There is no such thing as untouchable. There just isn't. I mean, juries definitely can be stupid. That's for sure. But you underestimate the amount of people that can't stand him. And you underestimate the amount of people that actually know who he is. There are so many people that have no fucking idea who he is. None at all. So if he wants to risk it with a tainted jury pool, he can go ahead and risk it. But you're risking 105 plus any other charges he gets, years in jail, just to hope that the jury gets it the way you want it. I'm not taking that chance. Any normal human being, not that he's normal, would take that fucking chance. Because if you're wrong, you're going to jail for a really long time. I would take a deal. I would take a goddamn deal. I would never risk over 100 years in jail just to see if I was right. Well, I mean, to be fair, Bradel just had his hearing with the officer we were talking about, the off-duty officer from Andover, Kelsey Fitzsimmons, who was shot by her counterpart at the police station when she was served with a restraining order. She, had her service weapon, or I don't even know if it was her service weapon, it was a weapon, a gun, and they shot her in the chest when they were serving her that restraining order. And so they had made a deal for her to get out where she would have to do the breathalyzer. And Mr. Bradel came back into court and said, well, you know what, Your Honor? You let her out on these conditions, but because she was shot in the chest, she's having some difficulty breathing and it hurts, and she's not going to be able to do these breathalyzers anymore. And I will tell you that the judge did not appreciate his grandstanding, did not appreciate his I'm going to throw a narrative around, and did not appreciate the way Bradel came into her courtroom because, I mean, the judge pretty much shut it down and was like, yeah, no. If she can't do the breathalyzer, then she needs to go back to jail. And her bail was then revoked. These were the conditions that you agreed to. So if she cannot meet these conditions, Mr. Bradel, then she goes back to jail. And Mr. Bradel was like, no, she can't because she's, has too much pain blowing into the, into the thing. It's like if his attitude didn't suck, he might have won for his client, right? Like he might have won for his client if he didn't try this whole I need to grandstand bullshit. But he made a mistake. He gambled. And he did the grandstanding. And the judge was like, nope, your client can go sit back in jail then if they can't follow the rules. This is what happens when you get these kind of attorneys. Bradel did her a disservice. No, I get it. We've talked about this earlier. I had postpartum with my oldest. I'm not saying, but what does that have to do with the conditions that her lawyer set? Her lawyer set these conditions that she could do X, Y, and Z, right? For her to be released. So the judge was like, well, if she can't do these things, Mr. Bradel, right? Then she's got to go back because these are conditions that were set. And I feel like had he not done his whole grandstanding BS and spun out a narrative, had he just stuck to the law and trying to find a different solution for her that was feasible for the judge, she wouldn't have been sent back to jail. She wouldn't have been sent back to jail. But the judge was not dealing with the bullshit. And the judge was like, sorry, Mr. Bradel. Sorry. Sean's not here anymore, so he must be behind. It's a little too late for me to try to turn down my microphone. And I can't control. So because Sean has a different setup, he has a different microphone and stuff, I can't control the levels of his versus mine. And because nobody said anything at the time, I didn't know to turn mine down. I appreciate it though. Next time you guys tell me if I'm louder than someone else, just tell me at the time and I'll change it. I didn't have a chance to do that because I didn't know. I can't hear if I'm louder than him. I don't hear myself. I only hear other people or the videos I'm playing. I'm not hearing myself. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they can. That's the thing. I don't know. I get it. The scram devices, maybe they could have made it once every 8 instead of once every, I don't know what the solution could have been. I have no idea. But I do know that it makes a difference when you walk into a courtroom as an attorney, if you start grandstanding and spitting out narratives and excuses other than trying to actually find a solution. Judges don't appreciate that because they think you're trying to play games with them. That's ultimately like spitting in the judge's face. Judges aren't going to see it favorably. And then they're going to tell you to kick fucking rocks, which is exactly what happened. He did his client a disservice by doing what he did and acting the way he did because his client is the one who paid the price for it. She went back to jail. Right? It's unfortunate. Okay. But the same thing with the Pepperdine kid, right? The judge told Alan Jackson basically to kick rocks. Alan Jackson went in and said, we'd like $2 million of our bail back so, my client can pay me. And the judge was like, no. I bet a lot of people here would like their bail back so they could hire a Mr. Jackson, but we don't do that. So your client's no different than anyone else. Denied. No. If you're going into a courtroom with a judge, right, you cannot act like your client is better than anyone else in that courtroom because you're the attorney or any other person that's been arrested. Judges don't like that. They don't like that behavior. They don't like it. And these idiots keep making that mistake left, right, and sideways. Got to do better for your clients. Get out of your frigging ego. Well, Massachusetts has body cams, but the state police have body cams. So it's weird because the detectives don't, right? And the cities get to decide on their own. So budget constraints, a lot of them will use that excuse to not have to get body cams, which I think is bullshit in my opinion. Bohm. It was the Pepperdine students that died. Bohm. I forget the kid's freaking first name, but Bohm is his last name. But that was here in Massachusetts. And what works here, unfortunately, the fact that it worked here is beyond me. But it's not always going to work other places, right? Judges don't like it. They don't like it. Every attorney knows that, though. It's not something attorneys don't know. They know that. It's almost as if this amount of attention they've had here in Massachusetts, they do these other cases in other counties or other states like Alan Jackson, and they just automatically assume it's going to work the way it did here. It's just not, it's just not. He lost the motion for the kid that killed the 4 Pepperdine students. He wanted his client's bail back, and so that the client could pay him. And the judge was like, no, sorry, not sorry. So he lost that motion. 4 young women. The guy was going over 100 miles an hour. I mean, you can say the kid was running from what's Jackson's theory here? Oh, he's running from some sort of road rage incident, which I'm sorry, I don't buy. You need to go over 100 miles an hour for that? Interesting. Yeah, lost that motion. Yeah, he was trying to get the bond restrictions lessened and get money back, and so that the kid could give him the money, essentially. And he was dumb enough to basically tell the judge that. And the judge was like, yeah, everyone would love half their bill back to hire Alan Jackson. And that's literally what the judge... Here, let me see if I can find it for you guys real quick so you guys can see this. I don't know if we can see it or not, if it was streamed, but Frazier, well, that's his last name. I mean, his first name, Frazier. September 5th was the last one. Let's see. Defense asked for a reduction from $4 million to $2 million for charges in crash that led to the deaths of 4 Pepperdine students. Judge denies the motion for reduced bail. Let's see. I don't know. Is this it? This might be it. Hold on. Let me see here. Whoa. What's the computer doing here? All right, let me blow this up. Hold on. Oh, crap. I can't until I get it on the screen. God dang it. They make it so difficult for me. If they, the story has changed 4 times. If they stream it, I will cover it. Some things don't get covered, so the only thing I can do is talk about it afterwards. Like federal, unfortunately, anything that's in federal court, we will never see. All right, here we go. Get this up here.
Crash has asked the court for a lower bail. Court TV's Julia Janae has more details on the sorority sisters murder case. October 17th, 2023, 4 Pepperdine University sorority sisters are killed in a horrific car accident on the Pacific Coast Highway. Neve Rolston, Asha Weir, Deslyn Williams, and Peyton Stewart were all seniors and members of the Alpha Phi sorority. Prosecutors say they were killed when 22-year-old Frazier Michael Bohm lost control of his BMW while speeding through Malibu.
No good.
On October 17th at around 8:30 p.m., Mr. Bond was allegedly speeding at the speeds of 104 miles an hour.
104, over 104.
On a 45-mile-an-hour zone on PCH when he lost control of his BMW. He allegedly crashed into a park before crashing into 4 pedestrians standing together on the side of the roadway.
Bohm was arrested and charged with multiple counts of murder and manslaughter stemming from their deaths.
Local station KABC was in the courtroom last month when Bohm made his first court appearance with his new attorney, Alan Jackson.
Before the entry of a not guilty plea, which is what we expect, obviously, I would ask the court for one continuance of the arraignment. We have just been brought on the case as of the last about 48 hours.
Jackson was Karen Reed's lead attorney in her trial earlier this year, which ended in acquittals for the murder and manslaughter charges she faced. Bohm's defense is expected to be that he was fleeing a road rage incident at the time of the wreck.
As far as another vehicle that's involved, we haven't been aware of anything like that. If there is anybody out there that actually has some information about that, or it was maybe a witness to it, I encourage you to contact the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department.
The defendant, Frazier Michael Bohm, and his attorney, Alan Jackson, were back in court earlier this week. They were requesting to lower his bond from $4 million to $2 million, which would free up funds for an expert-intensive defense. Here's the judge's response to that motion.
There are many, many defendants sitting in the county jail right now who would love me to reduce their bail so they can hire Alan Jackson or other private counsel, but that's not the way it works. If Mr. Bohm cannot afford Mr. Jackson's services, he is free to find other private counsel, or he can request the appointment of the public defender if he qualifies for their services, which, despite being free, is oftentimes excellent.
Bohm's request was denied. He is due back in court next month. So this morning, we're asking, how accommodating should the judge be for a fair defense? Why don't we go ahead and bring in our guest to discuss, the chief of police at Talladega College, and retired homicide detective Chris Anderson.
Nobody else
also
gets
family
that
law attorney
option.
Jennifer Brandt. Good morning to you, as well as criminal defense attorney David Bruno. Hey there, David. I'm going to start with you this morning. All right, we just heard what the judge's response was to the motion brought forth by Alan Jackson. What's your take on the response and what Alan Jackson asked for?
Yeah, this is the reason why across this entire country, bail has been reformed. In my state, in New Jersey, we certainly have, in my state, we have modified that away from monetary bail to look at risk assessments, because we don't want defendants. And this is the extreme, obviously. This is a serious case and it's a very high bail, but there are many defendants across the entire country that are still in jail because they don't have the financial resources to come up with bail.
That's correct.
And that is the reason for reform, to look at risk assessment. What is this defendant's prior history? Does he have a history of failure to appear? What are the facts and circumstances, which are also relevant, don't get me wrong. But when we talk about detention of a defendant during the pendency of cases, we want that to be whether or not they are a flight risk, whether or not there's a danger to the community, and whether or not there's a destruction of evidence. And in New Jersey, something like that wouldn't happen just because of bail. It would be on the risk assessments. And certainly there still could be detentions based on facts and circumstances. But that's why a lot of states are moving away from monetary bail as we have here in California.
Jennifer, let's bring you in on this. What's your take?
Cool.
Well, I understand what David is saying, and it makes a lot of sense. But we have here someone whose bail was already reduced, I think by half. I think it was $8 million initially, and down to $4 million. And he's asking for a further reduction so he can hire an expert and have Alan Jackson represent him. And I'm not so sure that that really makes sense. I agree with the judge. There are many people sitting in jail that can't afford bail, can't afford the services of a high-priced attorney. He can, but that's not really a reason to reduce his bail. So I see that. In terms of risk, I mean, this guy was traveling allegedly at over 100 miles an hour on a road with significant resources. I mean, his family does have significant resources. So as a flight risk, potentially. So I can agree with the judge as to why he's just not agreeing to reduce the bail again.
We do.
Chris, let's bring you in on this. There's obviously a lot of talk, a lot of controversy regarding bail.
If we did, that would have been privileged.
Bail.
Nobody else gets
we have a situation here, a young man, he's wanting his bail reduced again.
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on it?
It's already been reduced. No.
Yeah, so, and I agree with both the panelists. So I can understand why both the panelists feel that the way that they do. There should be a reform in bail. I think that it should be based on assessment instead of just, emotions. But at the same time, everybody deserves to have a bail. What that bail is, it kind of depends on the situation.
Shouldn't be out on
Here's
bail.
a situation where we have 4 young females that were murdered by doing nothing wrong. They had no, there was nothing that they did to put themselves in a situation where they lost their lives. And the victim,
probably would have been
due to misjudgment, due to some sort of reasoning, or is accused of being responsible for their loss of life. Now, knowing what I know about his family, knowing that they do have the means and opportunity, in order for him to become a flight risk, that all should be taken into account. But I do agree with the judge that his bail should not be lowered just because he's trying to, allocate that money towards his defense.
No. So Alan Jackson, he is the young man's attorney. So he is back at the center of yet another high-profile case. But we're wondering, can he capture the same magic as he did for Karen Reed? Let's listen to this. Way too
generous.
There was no collision. There was no collision.
Except there was. I can't listen to that. Okay, skippity skip.
The similar charges as he leads the defense for Frazier Michael Bohm in the sorority sisters murder case. So we're simply asking this morning, will Alan Jackson be successful again? Will he win again? Our panelists are still with us this morning. David, I'm going to start with you. Obviously, Alan Jackson has a lot of experience. He's had a lot of successes under his belt. What's your take?
Yeah, unfortunately for Alan Jackson, there's not going to be a trooper proctor in this with the text messages and the very difficult problems that the state had in Massachusetts. Here, this is an accident case. So what is really going to be important is the evidence that comes from the vehicle. The defendant was driving one of a newer vehicle. I expect that there's going to be a black box in there that will have event data evidence that will talk about, show us what the speed was shortly before the accident.
481 actually watching, most of them on X right now.
Law enforcement asking if there's any other witnesses that had a vehicle involved in this, because obviously if there's another crack, it could be that something else caused the injuries or the accidents. And then finally, I think Jackson's going to probably go after the murder charge because there's 2 levels of culpability here in this complaint. It's a murder, which we typically look at as like a purposeful and intentional murder. In California, it requires malice, which could be expressed or implied. And they're moving on implied based on the dangerous act with knowledge of risk and conscious disregard for human life. I think Jackson's going to try to bring it down to the manslaughter as opposed to the murder. Those are some thoughts that I think Jackson's thinking about right now.
Jennifer, David used the word dangerous. That stretch of roadway out there in California, people have talked about that stretch of roadway for quite some time, talking about how dangerous that stretch of road is. Will Alan Jackson be able to use that?
Well, I think it's called Dead Man's Curve, so it's, implied that it's a pretty dangerous stretch of highway. I think Alan Jackson is an excellent attorney, and I think he's going to use whatever he can. But there was a collision here, and the question is, was there a high rate of speed? One thing he may point to is that there's been other incidents, other accidents, and I don't believe alcohol was involved here. At least there's no allegations of that. And he may point to other situations or accidents of this nature, people were killed, and maybe the charges weren't so high, or the ultimate, conviction wasn't the same, wasn't murder. So he may look at other situations as well in making his defense. But you heard him on the video saying in the Karen Reed trial, there was no collision. There was no collision. Here, clearly, there was a collision, and 4 lives were lost. So it's a tough situation for sure.
Chris Anderson, let's bring you in on this.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So, I'm one of the people that never want to guess what a jury may do in a case. I never want to guess because ultimately it'll be on the jury to make the decision, right? So here we have, on the surface, you have a vehicle We know who the driver was. We knew that there was a high rate of speed. We know 4 people lost their lives behind it. So that's on the surface. But the underlying factors are what's going to be key. Just like David said, the black box will be important. All of the evidence that's collected at the crime scene will be important. That history of knowing that this stretch of road is known as the dead man's curve will all come into play. So asking whether or not he'll be successful, is something that I'd rather not say, because I've seen cases. I've had cases where I thought it was a slam dunk case, and 2-3 weeks in the trial, I'm sitting back in the back of a jury room waiting, just thinking about what I could have done better, or what could have happened, or what could have been done more in a better fashion in order to bring this to closure. So I don't want to judge on whether or not he'll be victorious again, because there are way, way too many underlying factors.
Absolutely.
Yeah, someone brought that up a little while ago. That Tuesday did a 2-parter on this case. It's, snake oil salesman. Yeah, well, I mean, what we're dealing with, right? Like, it's unfortunate. Bottom line, it's unfortunate. 4 people lost their lives, but ultimately the judge, right? And judges, like I said, they don't appreciate the sort of grandstanding. They don't appreciate it. They just don't. They take it as like a kick to their face. Like, you're coming into my courtroom acting like you're entitled to shit. Oh, hell no. I need to put you in your place. And both those attorneys recently made those very crappy decisions, and both judges shut it down. Remains to be seen. I'm assuming Mr. Bettero will be representing the sewer turtle in New Jersey. So I'd love to see what he goes in there and says. I'd love to hear that excuse. We'll find out now, won't we? It's unfortunate. No, none of us know when our number is up, ever. That's why I'm like, can we try to recognize the amount of hate and anger and vitriol that's been spewed from a us versus them scenario that the sewer turtle created? And can we try to break apart from that and sort of realize that without him, all of that hate and anger wouldn't exist, right? There'd be people who disagreed with each other on cases, but that kind of, we need to destroy everyone's life and make these mobs of trolls, like that wouldn't exist. It just would not exist without him. And I'm hoping, I will check to see. I don't know if I have it written down or not, but I know that it's not something I can easily grab right this second to check for you guys. But I can make like a tweet or a YouTube comment thing on the dates. I'm going to check on the one for this month too. I think it's 26th for Dedham, but I want to double check the docket. Yeah, I don't think it's flying either, but I had 2 friends that were killed by a kid who was driving drunk in the car with them, leaving a party, and they were 15 years old. They were best friends, and they both died in that car. Just bad decisions, but it's a decision to go over 100 miles an hour, even if you're not drinking, That's awful. That is awful. I also had a kid I went to school with in the Cape that the car flipped over. He was a basketball player at our school, and he was in a car that flipped, and he was the only one that ended up dying because he was so tall that the car, when it flipped, the top sort of crushed him because he was so tall. He was wearing a seatbelt and everything, but because he was so tall that it crushed him. And again, he was probably like 16. It's unfortunate, Oh, that's so sad. That's so sad. You got to be careful, Like, I don't have a car, but even when I did,
You know, nobody ever wants to like let you out. If you're coming out of a street, nobody wants to let you out. They want to keep zinging past. I was that asshole that like let people come out safely from a street, because far too many people I know have been in accidents like that, where someone's trying to come out from a street and everybody's going and somebody kind of stops and you start to go and then you know, they stop and someone keeps going and they hit each other. And it's like, so I'd rather avoid that and just let this person out safely. You know, I just would. So today is the 17th. Tomorrow I have something in the afternoon, so I'm going to be on at 10:30 instead of like 9 or 9:30. I have a case that we're going to go over, and there's some other people in the background I've been talking to about having on for a while now that we might have on this week at some point. So I got a couple things planned coming up for us on the show. I'm going to try to eat my lunch now because I've been here 2 hours, two and a half hours, because I'm starving like a hostage. If y'all want to do me a huge favor, hit the like button on your way out. I'd appreciate that. I know there's like over 450 of you on X. I hope some of you will join on YouTube at some point. Some of you. I have to make a new Discord link because the one I have going is expired. It expires after a certain amount of time, so I have to make a new one. I'll do that after I eat. Make a new one. So now that you're reminding me. I think that one's expired, Jesse, because it didn't work for someone yesterday I sent it to, so I might have to make a new one. That's for sure. That is for sure, Barbara. But if y'all could do me a favor. Oh, I forgot Jesse could make a new one there. My brain today, I don't know. I'm tired, okay? I've had a long weekend and beginning of the week for me. It's just been long. But if you could hit the like button on the way out, we'd appreciate that. You can share with a friend, let people know that we have a channel and we have a community of amazing, smart, intelligent human beings over here who are very kind. I appreciate you guys. For today, I am definitely going to go eat because I'm starving like a hostage. If you'd like to donate to the channel, we rely on donations from you guys to survive. And I thank everybody who sends one, and even if I have to read it as anonymous. So if you're worried about donating because your name is there, if you want to remain anonymous, you just write A or ANON, and I just won't read your name, and I'll just say thank you. Because I like to make sure that I'm thanking people. It's important to me. So, but we can do, you have 100 different ways to do it. You can get this little QR code here up in the corner of the screen. Murder by Maestro made us. For those of you who have iPhones and couldn't get a membership on your phone to the channel, you can now put me on your TV and scan that with your phone, and you can get a membership to the channel that way. Or we have a bunch of different options to support the channel. We have Cash App, Venmo, PayPal on your screen right now, Revolut, and then there's a link at the top of chat here in YouTube. It's also in the description of the video on YouTube, where you can just click on the link and use credit or debit, and it works in multitude of countries. So if you're not in the US, don't you worry, it still works. And Revolut works for those of you who aren't in the country, and I actually love Revolut. It's pretty cool. I love your stinking faces, and I will see you guys 10:30 tomorrow morning. Everybody have an amazing day.